Welcome, folks, to the latest episode of Pubcast. As always, I'm Wayne.
I'm Kim. I got my buccal fat removed.
I'm Darren, and a beard.
I'm Jill.
I'm actually Darren. We only saw each other like a couple of weeks ago playing D&D.
Your beard's just grown exponentially.
Which way they watch this,
So-
they might go, "What the hell?"
But
It's
you
like, yes,
didn't.
This is over. Why is Santi
Well,
here?
hang on a second. We saw each other like about 2 weeks ago, and
2 weeks ago.
you didn't have that beard.
Yes, I did. It's an optical illusion.
We'll have to run
let's
the
go,
footage.
Let's
my
run the
friend.
VT. We're gonna run. Let's run the VT now, and I'll cut it in. So let's run the VT. Let's cut to see if Darren had the beard. I'm now gonna look it up on YouTube just to be on the safe side.
I did.
And let's see.
Great big bushy beard.
Roll it there, Roisin.
So, bam!
I don't know how much growth I've had in the last 2 weeks, but
What?
it was there.
Oh no. Yeah, no,
What?
it is. So it was there. Maybe it's just. So looking at the footage here, it was there.
Maybe
but it
it's
wasn't.
newly washed and conditioned.
Maybe
that bit.
it definitely
Well,
is there.
you got to remember. Usually when I haven't been partying the night before, I do I had a discussion with someone in work today. She's like, "Oh, get rid of that beard. Beards are minging. They're covered with snot and dirt." And I instantly replied, "Well, who have you been kissing? Because most people clean their beards constantly to make sure."
I have a
And I
full
went into
collection
a
of.
full description on how if they've got a bit of stubble, you're going to get beard rash. But if they get to this, they shouldn't. It should be like
Listen, so-
falling asleep on a pillow if it's done well.
Listen,
But
so-
yeah, if you haven't told, we were I was a bit rough. I was very rough when we did the recording. So
yes.
yes. But
So-
we
How
made-
many days was your hangover, Darren?
I think I got food poisoning, but yeah, I was better.
Excuse me?
I was not from you, from the crap I was.
Oh,
So,
No,
so
I
before
gotta tell you a story, right? This is something
Kim reaches through the internet and clubs Darren to death. So for anyone that doesn't know, so we recorded our latest episode of Sorcery Shenanigans. We were in Kim's house, and Kim very kindly looked after us, fed us for like an evening into the following day, into that evening of the following day, and fed us
gave us
quite
like 3 meals.
Fed us
I
quite
couldn't
well,
eat.
yeah. And then so for Darren to say he got food poisoning,
Lovely sleep,
it's basically
sleep,
like Kim poisoned him. So,
No, but here's something. Speaking of
That's
the
Kim
of
Possible.
dinner, right?
yeah.
When I was around about 18, right? And I was, properly going out as a rocker. One of the lads in school invited us, all of us from Fibbers, back to his gaff, and he had a spread of different types of drinks, everything under the sun. And me being that age, I consumed everything, not realizing. And I remember going to sleep wearing black, going to sleep on the chair. But before I fell asleep drunk, he fed us chili with those chili beans, the stuff that you fed us, Kim, on the Sunday. But anyway, I continued drinking, and I fell asleep on the chair, listened to Billy Connolly wearing black. I woke up in white, or should I say I woke up completely covered in sick, because I had the worst hangover. I puked because I mixed everything you shouldn't. I was so frail, I puked in the car. I had to change my clothes, and on the way back, I got sick the orange juice I had. Now, this is something
Oh,
you
orange
never
juice.
have that chili ever again. But when Kim fed us food, it was the same stuff. And my throat was going, I have to eat this. Where my other part of me was going, that's the same stuff you had. Remember in Connors where you got sick? Do you think you're going to get sick again? Because you're really rough today. In fact, aren't you fighting a hangover? I'm just like this, just going, shut up, just eat the food. And that's how bad I was. But no, it wasn't your
Why
food.
wouldn't you just admit to being hungover?
No, you don't admit to being hungover.
And also, it can't be food poisoning if none of us got sick from
Yeah,
it.
we all
Yeah.
ate it
Had other
too.
food.
yeah.
Like that would be all the booze that you put in your system the night before. Oh, I'm only having 4 cans.
Yeah,
Mr.
that's-
8 cans later.
Till
How many
Sunday.
shots did you have, Darren?
I didn't think I had much, but when I checked that
You had at least
Desperado, it was down to
5 that
half the
I
bottle.
counted.
Half the bottle was gone.
Yeah, Darren. It was
Me,
so.
didn't have any.
So to
Well,
give
I got
everyone,
it. did it.
Stout and amaretto.
yeah.
No,
Stout.
Toronto.
And Di Serrano.
But
That's
it's
still
still
bad.
a liqueur.
Yeah,
On
so
top
to-
of
Tasted like
it,
liquid
yeah.
steak. But yeah, I didn't recover until the Sunday. The next Sunday, I was kind of feeling.
That's a full
completely-
week.
That's why I didn't go out for karaoke.
That's a full
I couldn't leave the
week.
bathroom.
So just to
Oh.
give
Darren,
everyone
can I?
give everyone
Yeah, go
context on
ahead,
this.
Wayne.
Sorry, just to give everyone context on what happens, rather than people wonder what the fuck we're rambling about. Because we went down to record, we went down the night before, and we had an evening of where we played the Star Trek VHS game,
Which fun.
where we all
It
experienced
was so much fun.
We all
we
experienced
played
beans.
Shay Geek first
Shake, we did.
yeah.
over dinner.
We did play Shake.
People were annoyed we didn't put up footage of
Yeah.
the VHS game. And guys, I understand. I have a
Feelings
little bit, but it was
niche.
really precious. I was a bit hammered already, and I was like trying to because I was like someone at a gig, trying to record every second of it because it was so fun and ridiculous. That actor killed himself doing that.
Beans.
So good. My face hurt by the end of that game
Yeah.
because I was laughing.
It was so
hard.
much crack.
It
And
was so good.
and this was the night before we had to play like a 4-hour D&D
Yeah.
game. So
I texted my
Oh,
husband the message, I'm going to bed now. I am a wise and clever person at 5:39. 5:39 in the morning.
yeah,
I can't believe.
Yeah.
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 Darren, is it okay if I share with the listening public the thing
Oh.
that shocked me the most about?
I'm kind of worried. I'm like, I didn't have the fear the next day, but now I'm kind of going.
No,
"Oh,
this is.
God."
I think this is a good thing
Okay.
because I think all of
Yeah.
us, me,
I
Kim,
think
and
it's a good
Jill,
thing.
all experienced this, and I think it's a good thing what she's about to say.
Maybe. I was working
I
out.
don't leave the room.
No. I was working out where everyone was going to sleep so they could have the right amount of privacy and the right amount of comfort or whatever. And I have a pull-out bed that's king-sized. And I said, I'm going to put Darren in there. Darren is a man mountain. He is a fine specimen of a thing. I know you can't tell
Oh,
from
stop.
this, but he is. You
Thank
know,
you.
he's one of the descendants of the High Kings for sure. Now,
Excellent.
he gets up the next day and he tells me something that nearly knocked me onto the floor. He sleeps in a single bed.
Oh yeah, but it's foam. It's like lovely. But yeah, single.
Single.
Yeah.
My
room's too small for.
I
know
suppose,
I did
yeah.
have one, but I got rid of it because
You wanted more room for activities.
for stuff.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it was good. I didn't do what I wanted to say. As soon as I seen it, it's like, and when I found out I wasn't sharing, I was like, I want to sleep that way.
Yeah.
Like, but I never did it. I actually don't remember falling asleep. I remember.
No,
waking up-
I can't imagine you did.
waking up, going in, seeing the lovely breakfast fry that you did, taking 2 bites and going, I need a little bit more sleep.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. But
Yeah.
but I just couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that you didn't have this all the time as a necessity. But
It
fair
was-
play
it was
to you.
lovely and comfortable. But again, the single
It
one I have is a foam one, and it's real good for my back. So that's why I haven't
That's good.
been arse
but-
getting anything else. Like I probably will soon, like get a new one. But
I think that explains your high tolerance for pop culture as well. You can obviously put up with a lot.
I can't hear it. It's still in the phone. What?
No, I honestly thought, Kim was going to talk about how you blew us
Yeah,
all
what were we
away
gonna
with
talk
your
about?
SingStar abilities.
Oh, thanks, Jarvis. That's why we were up till fucking
Yeah,
5:30 in
so
the morning.
it wa-
Because after
Yeah.
including Yeesh,
Yeah,
we
went
had
from,
an
we went from
epic
that, yeah.
fucking SingStar
There's no
session.
slouches here. There's no slouches here.
We
I
all
nearly
got the
killed
game.
myself. I nearly killed myself singing Roxette.
I think that's the most
It's-
time I've ever said, "Let's go party."
Yeah,
Yeah. The
that's
video didn't compliment me whatsoever, but if we could just have
No.
the audio of that, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, and we know that because the sound was traveling in the wrong direction. But you murdered so many of those songs. Like you just killed it dead, Darren. I'm so
I would go
impressed.
in a
the
good
other
way,
but
in a good
okay.
way, not in a
In a
bad
good
way,
way,
in a
yeah.
good way, in a good way.
Yeah.
I will never live again. No.
Yeah.
No, I get it. It was. I can't believe we sang till 5:30 like that. That's.
Oh,
when I
yeah.
woke up and kind of did the maths. I was like,
And we wanted to
well,
do
and it-
more, but we had
yeah.
to face
Yeah,
facts.
we had to face facts that we had to basically record a full D&D session the following day, and
Mhm.
I remember turning to Jill at one point, and it was about 4:30, and we kind of
Yeah.
looked at her as like, it's 4:30. I was like, "Are you tired?" Like, I am not tired, and
No.
and I'm not even that drunk. I just
No.
but I know, and I was like,
I'm having the best crack. Like,
yeah, but I'm like,
good laugh.
it's all well and good having to play a game of D&D the next day. I have to run a game of D&D the next day.
And-
yeah, exactly.
I was like,
And he did all the AV setup and everything.
Yeah.
but
And all the voices.
yeah, but we got there in the end. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing what it looks like for 4 nerds who are actually quite hungover to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, go check out the latest episode of Sourcing Shenanigans, and also enter into the competition. We're actually very surprised. We thank you to a lot of new subscribers recently. Partially following. We'll kick into this little segue and then launch into
go into it now.
all different things. So I've very luckily got asked by a company called AM Events, who are a new event company that are starting up and have done a couple of events so far, to ask to be one of the Dungeon Masters for D&D in a castle. And it was taking place in Charleville Castle in Tullamore, and it was absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. Like the Keith, who was Keith and Liam were the lads in charge of it. Just a brilliant event, really well run, very well put together, cracking bunch of people involved, some great DMs. The DM, Dave Gibson from Penny Dragon Games, Ben Doherty, the 3 lads from Heartfire Tales as well, were involved, and it was just a solid event. It was just so much fun, and you could feel the happiness and the enjoyment in the room as we were all playing all the different tables.
That's cool. That's what you want.
It's great.
The event was just top tier. Like the actual room itself, the area that was in, the castle that was in, like Charvel Castle is a brilliant place. It was the place where they used to have Castlepalooza, if anyone remembers that event.
Yes.
So I posted up some photographs on social media of the actual event, of the actual place, not the actual event itself, because I was too busy running the game. It was like a one shot. I had a fantastic bunch of players. They were all fantastic. Really, really got into the game. So
Wayne, where did the players come from? How did they end up there?
It's advertised online. There's a Facebook groups. There's advertisements on different web forums. They've got their own Discord server, and a lot of the players that were there were players that had played before at the last event. So the first event they did was back in October of last year, and it was a Curse of Strahd game that they did.
Okay.
And it was a one shot. So they adapted Curse of Strahd to run in the castle, and the castle was the setting. So it was like meant to be Strahd's castle. And they took some of the lore from the castle, the history of the castle, and wove it into the story of Strahd. And Keith gave me a really good, nice tour of the place. Well, I arrived down quite early on the morning. I was there from about 9:30, because I got the train down from Dublin early on the Sunday morning. It was literally the week after we'd done our game. And I got the train down, and they brought me in. Very welcoming group. Just basically, we're happy to have a new DM in with the current DMs that were there. And the table that I got, like I said, brilliant bunch of players, really enthusiastic, really getting into the game. And it was just a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend anyone that's interested in even if you're just interested in getting into D&D, and you've never played it before, it doesn't matter. They cater for all sorts, and the games are so much fun, and they're centered on just being a fun event and not being overly bogged down in, being sticklers for everything. It's just, well, it definitely wasn't at my table, and I could, from the looks of the other tables as well, the effort that the DMs put in, everyone was having a blast. So do check it out. I will be posting up when the next one is, because they're going to do one every couple of months, and I think, it's definitely worth checking out, definitely worth seeing. And even if you three want to go down and take part in any of it, I was speaking to a couple of other DMs as well, just to make them aware of it, because they're more than happy to expand and have more people get involved and more people run games, because they have the castle to expand out into, and it is a perfect venue for this event. Really, really good.
I've seen the pictures that you put up, and it really does, like, having D&D in a castle, like that castle was just, I can already think of how much a good time myself going down as a player would have been there. But I've been aware of the last one and this one, but it just my schedule, if I have a schedule, I just couldn't go. But the next one, I've got a few friends that play D&D. One who just recently experienced his first ever playing D&D at a con, and he loved it. And I've been slowly trying to say, well, maybe we can get a few heads and go down. So he shift work, so it's very hard to kind of pin stuff down. But the next one's looking like we might go when they say what it's on. But anyway, it looked really cool, and your pictures, and I say, like, especially that model you put up. That would have, as a player fighting that, would have just.
Well, I
been
mean,
awesome.
that's a shout out to Dublin City Comics for that one, our fantastic sponsors, because what happened was I was looking, the whole premise of the one shot I was running, it was on the weekend of St. Bridget's Bank Holiday here in Dublin, in Ireland, and it was about St. Bridget and the passing of winter into spring, and the idea behind it was that St. Bridget couldn't. There was something blocking her from bringing spring into existence, and in some forms of the game it was an old hag or a witch, and in some forms of the game, depending on what the DM was, it chose to have a shape-shifting hag that turned into another beast. I chose that it would be an ancient white dragon, and I was looking for an ancient white dragon figurine for about 2 weeks. Couldn't find one. Couldn't get one delivered online quick enough to get here for the event. So just by happenstance, I was in Dublin City Comics picking up my standing order, and I said at the dock, I says, by any chance you have anything like a white dragon? And he was like, actually I do. And he went into the back and he pulled out this McFarlane white dragon figure. So McFarlane Toys. These are ones
like
that were
some sort of magician.
like, yeah, just out of the ether. But it was actually fair. It was like himself and Des were there, and they were like, go in and have a chat. And they went in and they pulled it out, and it was like, it only cost me 30 quid, and it's a brilliant, beautiful looking figure. And it just so happened to have a little female robed wizard figure stuck on the base of it as well, and it fit perfectly into what I needed, and it looked fantastic on the table as well. So yeah, it was good fun. And speaking of figures, for our next Sorcery Shenanigans session, our minifigs for all of your characters have arrived from Hero Forge. So we have them for our map and table for our next session. So I will be bringing them with me. I did send you pictures.
Ray looks butch as fuck.
Unfortunately, that was as close to as a dude tabaxi that I could, like, you know, I couldn't get him any more lithe. He does look a bit. It looks like he's definitely been strumming and getting the gains. So
giving it the Danzig.
Full on. Yeah, full on.
Danzig arms.
Yeah. But no, it's we went on to Hero Forge and we decided to make up little minifigs of each of them. They look amazing. They look cool.
Getting the crossbow, just a crossbow. It is a
crossbow. Lopan has a crossbow and a blade. Because I thought, like, you know, rogue. But no,
I'll throw a dagger eventually, I think.
Yeah, we have them for our next game, so they will be on our little mini map when if any combat arises. So that was the D&D event that I very happily took part in and will take part in again, hopefully, whenever the next one rolls around. So definitely check them out, folks. AM events or D&D era events on Instagram. So it's D&D_era_events. You'll find them on Instagram. They follow Irish Pubcast and we follow them. So if you do follow us on Instagram, you'll find them as well. But yeah, how's everyone else been since the last time we sat down in person and got to play D&D? How are you all doing?
Good. I felt I got to travel back in time without a TARDIS because recently, oh god, how quickly did it come out last week? Dead Space came out.
Yes.
And Resident Evil spent a lot of my youth playing that and all the other games, and then Dead Space seems to be my favorite game because it's my genre, horror in space, you know. And I became really, really good with that game. So much so that back in the day, like when it first came out, I had this one achievement called the one gun, whereas you only use the first gun you find, you don't use any other ones, and you tried to beat the game with it. And I did, and I was chuffed, and it was very difficult because there's certain creatures that you have to have good aim, but I managed to do it. So when Dead Space came along and I was sitting there and I was about to start playing it, I'm like, all right, Darren, you're older now. Do you think your reflexes are still good? I talk to myself, you know, like every now and then, as we all do.
Was it a remake, Darren? Was it a remake or a re-release?
It's here's the thing. It's meant to be just a re-release, but a lot of the and I'll go into this in a sec. A lot of the, without spoilers, a lot of the graphics got upgraded so much so
for a new console.
For PlayStation 5, unfortunately, it's the reason why I jumped. You can't get it on PlayStation 4, and I can understand that by the rate it loads.
Right.
The other, its brother that came out just recently, which is the something protocol.
I know.
Oh yeah, we're talking about this.
The
Yeah,
Callisto
The
Protocol.
Callisto Protocol,
Callisto
I had to
Protocol.
stop halfway through because it took so long to load. A lot of these games, you have to get used to the controls and muscle memory, and that's how you get past the monster. But it was loading so quick, so slow on that, I had to give it up. But before Dead Space came out, I tried to finish it and cleared it like that because loading was so quick. I got used to the controls. But anyway,
right. You didn't have a cooldown every time it was changing.
oh, it's like a
Okay.
couple of seconds on the PlayStation 5, but literally 2 to 3 minutes, which when you're not used to it can take a while. But anyway, I finished that and finally went back to Dead Space, and it's as good as it was. But again, my for me, my worry was that my reflexes wouldn't be as good because you get old, you're kind of thinking it. And they sorry, to answer your question, Kim, they redid the game from the ground. Same storyline, same like everything, like where it's meant to happen. You kind of like kind of ish remember, but the graphics are way better. The monsters are a little bit more intelligenter. They appear new places. They had a unisex toilets, which was pretty awesome in it. Which was it was the guys and girls. So I thought that was really cool.
Ali McBeal face.
Yeah, but there's this, one of the things I loved is back in the day, you knew why to do it. There's a tram system to get you from one part of the ship to the other, and that's to trick you into standing there while it loads. But in this, it actually felt like you were on a tram, and it took a couple of seconds. It didn't take the loading time that we're used to. But yeah, it was beautiful. Like there's this one scene in the game, right? This is how I know it was, where you have to go to another ship. I won't go into it because I don't want to spoil it for people that never played it. And I remember back in the day that what it looked like is if you got one map and you just crudely jammed the other map onto it, right?
Okay.
You know, or like that's what it looked like. It just didn't look like it was a ship there. Whereas in this, I got to it and I actually stopped and I had a wow. And I looked around and you could still see the stars. You like, it felt exactly where it was. And
Wow.
they have put their work into this. And there's another scene where you have to go outside the ship, and I remember it being kind of like, I felt like it was in a sandbox. But with the remake, you have this jetpack on your back and you can go whatever. The monsters still come at you, and you still have, when you go into space in a vacuum, you're relying on your oxygen of your suit, and you have this little timer. And if you don't upgrade it, you get really nervous because the monsters come at you. But I remembered everything I did in the first one, so when I came to this, I knew what to do. But so the game is brilliant. I recommend if anyone wants to get, or like kind of like, oh, it's probably going to be a waste. It isn't. Now it's still pretty cheap. I don't think it's worth the money you have to pay. But luckily, me and my brother have a thing with the PlayStations that we can go halves on it. But I wouldn't pay the price they're saying. I'd wait until,
what is it, 80 quid or something?
yeah. But like, I'm still old school. I still think €40 enough. And because when my brother buys a game, I get access to it. So we always just go, here, listen, I'll throw you 40 and we'll go halves. So that way I'm still technically paying my brain price for what I think games should be worth. But so it's definitely, if you can wait until it goes down in price, get the Callisto Protocol, because that's probably it's not as good as Dead Space, and it's probably going to be real cheap because it's real easy to finish if you're on PlayStation 5. So that'll keep you going. But yeah, it was brilliant. One of the achievements, sorry, where I started this rant, and I'll finish with this, is that the one gun is still in this PlayStation 5 version. You get loads of cool guns, and like, one of the guns is you fire off a blade. The thing with the necromorphs is, in order to kill them, you have to hack off the limbs. If you just shoot at the body,
good family
they're in
fun.
the last stages. So it's all about, and it's very gory, but it's not as gory as other, like the Callisto Protocol was probably more gory because at the beginning you couldn't actually press X to kind of quicken the death scenes, whereas in this they're not as good. But anyway, yeah, to kill the necromorphs, you have to chop off the limbs. So it's all about that, like focusing your gun and shooting the limbs off, or shooting legs so they fall, and then the legs, and then stamping on them. But so you've got this variety of loads of guns. You've got a submachine gun, but the one gun you get at the very beginning is the slicer, I think, or something like that.
It's the laser cutter. It's the cutter.
Laser cutter. Thank you very much, good sir. And the only thing that does is it goes from the sighting is like this to like this. That's all it does. But it's like, you know where you're going to shoot, but it's extremely difficult with aiming. And the goal is to finish the game with that. It's 10 hours, 12 chapters. The monsters are seriously harder than they were. I had to attempt the main bad guy, the end of the level thing, twice. whereas the first time with ease. And I got it. You know the way when you, in a game, you know when you're just about to die. It's like literally, if I don't get this, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I had that. I literally had like 5 seconds, and it was all up to me pulling the trigger. And I'm like, right. And I just got it, and I managed to get the last thing and defeat the monster. But it has everything. It's scary. It has that horrible music. Like when the monster's about to appear, it has the horrible music when the monster's not about to appear.
Oh
They
no.
know to fuck with you in this. Every now and then, like they can come from the ceiling through vents. They're in the vents. All best monsters are in the vents. They can come out of the vents to the side.
The walls, man.
Yeah.
They're coming out of the walls. Game over. You even like sometimes you'll hear a noise thinking the alien's about to come out, and just the fan explodes because it's an old ship. It's the USG Ishimura is what you're on. It's a planet cracker. It's not even a colony ship. It's a planet cracker. They go to planets and they stop the planet from from crumbling.
I just have this ship shaped like the front of it shaped like Robbie Coltrane's face. It's just, you know.
I'll be a cracker. It was him all along. But yeah,
I thought about Nibbler's Planet on Futurama.
Oh yeah.
But I got the achievement. I'm not as old as I think. I recommend it for everybody. The story's simple. You get this. You're on a rescue mission to find out what's happening to the USG Ishimura. When you go there, bad shit happens from straight out the gate. You start trying to survive from the necromorphs and try get off the ship. I recommend it. You know,
very good.
I'm actually about to. Well, I'm going to give it a bit, and then I'm going to go back and play it on. I think it's hard, but it used to be impossible, I think, but now it's just called hard. Which
okay, and that's the top level, Darren, is it?
I think there's one more where you only get one shot at it, and if you die, everything gets deleted. And the thing about me is, I never have it with the game. I don't always heal myself up the full. I'm more of a right. Fuck it. If I get hurt, I get hurt, or if I die, I die. But I'll have to, if I go back to do it, I'll have to change the way I play to always making sure that's up the front. And the game has this thing where sometimes it will just surprise you. You'll come into a room that you've been in before, and next of all, around the corner come 5 or 6 scribblies, and you're going to die. But then when you reload it, because it killed me a few times. When you go in again, it's not there. They're going to get you somewhere else. So it does have this kind of like you're not gonna. Yeah. So I just turn the corner, shoot him, then shoot that. You're kind of turning the corner again. But the monster was here, but no, he's not fucking. And you're
luring you into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
That's
I think a lot of modern video games have learned from themselves and from offshoots of them. Obviously, Dead Space. It's funny actually. Dead Space obviously is a huge nod to Alien. Because like in the 1,000,001 Alien references throughout the Alien and Aliens references throughout the entire game, but then Alien Isolation came out, and basically showed horror games how to do it all over again. And then you had remakes and you had sequels to Dead Space that came out, and they kind of went, "Oh, let's take some of that and kind of tie it in." And that game mechanic was in Alien Isolation, where you'd walk into a room and the alien will just be fucking there, and then you die, and then you reload, and then you go into the same room and it's not there. So it's just the AI in the game kind of knows it's fucking with you, and it's
that's kind of cool though.
Yeah, like it's art imitating art, and you know, it's
but
just
in a good
really
way.
cool.
Like I still remember the first time the alien got me in Alien Isolations. Like it was like, you know, where you're like, okay, the exit's just there. I know the alien's somewhere, but I can run. I can make it. And I was like, fuck it, I'll run and I'll make it. And I ran up and I started opening the door, and the alien came down and got me. Yeah. It's like, fuck.
It's one of the Alien Isolation is one of the greatest intros of a xenomorph in any alien piece of media. The way it actually, the first time you see it, when you're playing it, you're on edge at the like when it happens, and then the alien appears, and you're like, oh fuck. Because your character's hiding under a table, and she's just peeking out, and you're just getting glimpses of the tail.
Man.
And you're just getting and you just see, and it's the way it's got that salad fingers thing where it's like it walks like this, and it's like it's phenomenal, like Mr. Burns-esque, but it's like
there was also rumors which I never actually got to check, but you know the way there's a built-in mic in the actual old PlayStation.
Yeah, no, it hears you. Yeah, it hears you. And if you're
hiding,
and also if you have a headset. If you play with a headset on and you've got the microphone on the headset right next to you, and you're like, if you're like a mouth breather, like a lot of gamers are, it's the aliens like. It's-
shit! No,
it's
I
really
couldn't cope. I
cool.
couldn't
It's
cope with that.
Really
Away.
cool. It's really, really cool.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, Alien Isolation it rewrote a lot of gaming survival horror stuff, and then other games that came before it that then had sequels after it kind of were like, we'll have that idea, thank you, and they. But yeah,
I was listening to a politics comedy podcast earlier this week, and Ron Perlman randomly appeared on it, and it was a very funny segment. He wasn't doing anything political, although he kind of
Right.
was. He was reading bitches. Anyway,
Ron Perlman. I love it.
yeah, he's so funny, and he doesn't give a fuck what he says about anyone. It was so funny, but he comes from a good place, which is why he can.
yeah.
Get away with it.
But the host, the comedian John Lovett, not the comedian John Lovitz, John Lovett asked him, was that in Alien Resurrection, was the half Ripley, half alien room, was it real or was it computer generated? He says, no, that was practical. And he goes, was it really scary? Did it frighten you? Was it? And Ron Perlman was like, no, man, that's funny. This shit was funny. There's an elbow in his neck, man. And it was like, and John Lovett was like, can't relate. I'm still afraid of it. Ron Perlman was like, no, it's funny. It was funny.
Grand.
Yeah.
Ron Perlman's stories about Alien Resurrection are next level brilliant. Like he broke character in that film. When you watch
Which
the scene,
bit?
the bit where Sigourney Weaver does the over the shoulder throw of the basketball,
Sorry, so-
and it
Yeah.
goes in first try. It goes in like she
Yeah.
did that shot. There's a moment that they have a wide shot, and you see Ron Perlman's character, and he breaks character for a second. He just like you see him actually react to her actually getting the shot.
I love
and
that.
there's a
For
making
second,
of
but it
yeah,
just did it.
because they were like saying no, we can do it with the CG and we can do it, and she just went and
Sigourney
nothing but
doesn't
net
need
the whole way, and
Oh my god.
Amazing.
Perlman just turns
Amazing.
and looks and is like, and the making of, and like it's one of the better things about that movie, but the making of is him telling that story, and it's Ron Perlman, and he's in costume with the shaved head, looking all like,
I've got the Blu-rays. I have to look at that.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
brilliant. It's really good shit. Like,
Amazing.
yeah. Look, the Alien franchise has given us a lot of good and a lot of bad, and
Yeah.
I don't know if the
Hopefully
good
a lot
outweighs
of good
the bad.
again. There's talk of a TV show coming.
There is.
up, so-
I've seen a teaser trailer for the TV show, and
Really?
there was a teaser. I don't know whether it was to do with the Super Bowl or something, but it showed up online recently. And
Who's
it's-
in charge of it?
It probably
Well, I
shouldn't.
don't know who's. I can't remember who's in charge of it. I think it's a Spanish director, but I could be completely wrong with that.
Who would be the Kathleen Kennedy, Kevin Feige of the Alieniverse? Who owns just the movie studio?
Look, if it isn't Neil Blomkamp, I don't want. Like Neil Blomkamp should have been.
He
But-
should have,
Yeah.
yeah. Then your man took his toys back and saying, like, "No, I'm
Yeah.
doing my Alien in Prometheus now."
Um,
So yeah,
So the Alien TV series has been produced by Hulu, and
Okay.
Voodoo?
so apparently it's Noah Hawley.
Oh yeah.
It's been released through FX, and FX have done a lot of good
Okay.
TV.
I love
so-
FX.
They have.
Honestly,
like it.
Hulu are taking chances on things that nobody else
Yeah.
is doing. So
Yeah,
that's
I
a good
agree.
sign.
it does say here it will be based on Ridley Scott's Alien franchise.
Oh, if it
Mm.
just stopped at will be based, I was really happy with.
Fortunately, the black
Yeah.
ooze now is canon. It's in everything, even the role playing games. So just have to hope they do it justice and do good stuff. And
What is the issue with it, Darren? For a
for
for a
me,
normie?
For me, I read the graphic novels before Aliens 3 came out. So as far as I will go with alternate timelines. What should have happened, but they went in a different direction, and I think a bad direction. Although Aliens 3 is awesome, just they shouldn't have killed off Ripley. But yeah, apparently in the graphic novel, what happens after is that Hicks and Newt go back to Earth. Newt never really gets over the trauma that happened, and she's in a psychic ward as a kind of in her 20s. Hicks doesn't become a Marine anymore. He becomes, like he's hasn't gotten over the shit that happens. Cults are starting to form. Now it's been ages since I read this, so I'm kind of remembering.
This is the
Right.
Dark Horse stuff, is it, Tina?
Yeah, this is Dark Horse back in the day. But what happens is cults are forming because they're meant to be hearing the the aliens and whatnot. And long story short, Earth gets invaded by the aliens, and it's all about like Hicks and Newt trying to get out, and Ripley's nowhere to be seen. And it turns out that like in the graphics that the engineers did exist. Now, this is the only one good thing that I think they did. The engineers were actually humanoid elephants. They that mask that they're wearing, they went with. So the way they did them as like really like bulky, weird looking alien humans, I think they should have kept.
Is this
right?
So this is pre-Prometheus when, because I know the Prometheus.
This is what I'm saying before.
Sure,
before
yeah,
Prometheus, and this is where I like. But I'm getting and that happened, and then at the end, Ripley arrives to help save the day, and then you find out that they took her out of cryo because she has experience with aliens, and they found the alien planet that apparently that there's the oldest time aliens living on the planet that are psychically linked with all the aliens everywhere, you know.
Oh, right. Okay.
She's on a mission with those guys to go. I think that's book 3 or 4 where she goes to sort that out. But the black goo was never a thing. It was always that the aliens had their own alien species and humanity wanted to get them and use them as a weapon, but they're intelligent, so it would never work. There was even one graphic novel where you get to see what happens if 2 alien queens are born, and hence why you might have seen certain black and red aliens, genocide I think it's called, where you get to see the aliens go toe to toe with each other and humanity are in the center. And then there was stuff where, because it started focusing on the royal jelly and had the properties of that, and how if humans started taking that, they would mutate, which I can kind of see in the black goo. They would mutate into being able to kind of control and control the aliens and whatnot. And I see that's what I said. But the black goo was never a thing. The aliens were always in before Prometheus were always a species out there. But then, so that's why, you know, sometimes changes is a bit kind of weird, but I've gotten used to the black goo, and I can see like the way they do it in the role-playing books is some great ideas and great stories. But I would have liked to have seen before Prometheus or Prometheus 2 happened, there was talk of Ripley and Hicks coming back and doing that alternate kind of timeline where like closer to the source material of the comics.
Yeah.
But as I said, I remember it as it felt like a child, because you know, like kids, when someone else starts playing with a toy, they suddenly want it.
Yeah.
I got that from he planned to go off and do anything, and then as soon as Aliens became popular again, he's like, "Oh, they're in my new film. Yeah, they're yeah. So give me that, thanks. I want my toy." And we never, and there's cool pictures up online of them. And at the I doubt it's ever going to get made now. But
the Neil Blomkamp
really good
stuff,
really
like
good
it's
idea,
this
it
is
got really far into it.
really good stuff. Like it looked phenomenal. The artwork that Darren talks about there. It was like it had Hicks coming back and he was an old man, but he had scars all over his face, and it had an old Ellen Ripley as well. And they were basically going to negate Alien 3 onwards. They were going to just land in, and it was going to be a sequel to Aliens, and they were older. I remember in the comic book that you were referencing where Ripley comes back, I remember that page. I remember that Newt is actually shacked up with a version of Bishop. So she's got Newt is a lot older because Ripley's been in cryo. Newt's a lot older, and she's shacked up with an android, I think. Like, so they're
no, here's the thing. It was, sorry for cutting across you. He was a colonial marine, I think.
Was he?
And she fell in love with him, and they get attacked by the alien, and she thinks he's going to die, and then it's even worse. He turns out to be an android. And not even he knew it.
Yeah,
she didn't know.
Yeah, I think I knew he was an android. I knew that her boyfriend in the comics was an android. But then I remember the actual shot in the comic of Ripley's return, and she's standing in the doorway of Newt's apartment, and she's just standing there with a pulse rifle, and she's like, "Come on, we gotta fucking sort this shit out." And it's an amazing piece of art. I can't remember who the artist was, but I remember it reminded me of Kevin O'Neill's work from 2000 AD, who did ABC Warriors, because it was that kind of...
And the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen stuff with Alan Moore. I love Kevin O'Neill stuff. Sorry.
Yeah.
His stuff is gorgeous.
But it like that type of stuff. But the Dark Horse comics by a lot of standards are top tier stuff. The storylines that they ran were fantastic, and even when they start merging in with all the Alien versus Predator stuff, that's where it came from. It came from Dark Horse Comics.
Oh, wow.
Like the Dark Horse Comics shit with the Alien versus Predator stuff was phenomenal. It was really good. They had full in-depth lore. that they devised, the writers devised, they all put it together. Like the storylines were fantastic. Dark Horse Comics in the
Broken
90s.
Broken Tusk.
Yeah,
I'm not an artist, but I have on my wall. I'll take a picture of it later. It's still up there from when I tried to draw, but it's like I tried to redo the cover of Tusk over the alien killing it, and I
Oh
just
wow, you were really inspired.
That's how good it was.
it was just so cool, the ideas that they had in it, and you get to find out more about the predators, and
Yeah.
that's what the entire thing is. They're the ultimate hunters, and that's why wouldn't they hunt the ultimate predator, which is the alien? And it just so good.
And like the Dark Horse stuff that became AVP all bled out of Predator 2 because the FX guy decided to put a xenomorph skull in the ship at the end when Danny Glover walks in and he's just like, motherfucker, and you see like
I
the
lost my
xenomorph skull up on the wall. Like that's where it all like it just literally just a ripple effect throughout the whole thing. But yeah,
And where does Jonathan Davis fit into the canon?
it's just that he's one ugly motherfucker, really. I suppose that's pretty much it, you know. How
He's
he
probably
fits
got
it.
acid spit as well, you know.
I remember watching Queen of the Damned in the cinema.
When the stats start singing, it's like, holy fucking shit.
But then also when Jonathan Davis has a cameo in that film, when the lead female reporter in it is tries to sell her tickets. Yeah, he tries to sell her tickets to a concert, and he's just like, he's a tall. Well, she's a short actress, but he's a tall motherfucker in it as well.
Yeah,
he's all like baggy pants and dreadlocks, and it's like that's Jonathan Davis. But
they're on the soundtrack like 3 times, aren't they?
He does the vocals on 5 of the tracks on the soundtrack. So on the soundtrack CD that you bought, it's not him doing the vocals, it's the people who do this. So it's like Static X is one of the songs. Sorry, I'm about to nerd out about fucking soundtracks and Queen of the Damned. Let's get into it. So the first 5 tracks on the soundtrack, Marilyn Manson does one, Static X do another. I want to say somebody like fucking
Linkin Park do a trick.
There's Linkin Park do one as well. But anyway, it's all the actual artists doing the songs on the soundtrack. But in the movie, John Davis does the vocals on them, and he is Lestat's singing voice for the movie.
Interesting. God, I need to. Do I need to watch that?
That made me feel some feelings. I might have modeled my wardrobe on that red-haired bird look from that movie for a while.
Right.
Look, I will say this as a full-throated fan of Paul McGann, the soundtrack of that film.
Yes.
Because Paul McGann is in it and plays a character with a surname Talbot.
Yes. Oh my God.
He does.
Yeah. And he's a prick.
Your boyfriend became your husband.
Prick. He's a prick in the film.
He is a prick. But and that character, David, is a bit of a pain in the arse in the series and the books as well.
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit was fantastic as Akasha.
Aaliyah. Yeah.
Beautiful Aaliyah.
But unfortunately, again, Stuart Townsend didn't have the gumption that he had for Aragorn, where he decided, you know what, he might not be the best person for this role. I'm gonna bow out. But it's compared to the original. I mean, I suppose if you think about it, right, there's the pros and cons of. Or even the kind of the juxtaposition of if you read the Interview with the Vampire, then you read the Vampire to start afterwards. Interview with the Vampire being about like Louis, all the way through, being so whining
Louis.
And then it's
sorry.
And then you
I'll shut up now.
That's all right. That's okay. I'm here
that's
for
fine. We came to your house and we're on your lawn.
Yeah, no, 100%. But like the Vampire Lestat, obviously from Lestat's point of view, is a different take. And yes, Queen of the Damned is a different take on the lore. But
absolutely,
I don't know if it was a good.
It's very
take.
Of its time. It was very.
It's very of its time and very dated now. There were elements of the movie that I liked. I think I used to say Stuart Townsend was a better vampire, but Tom Cruise was a better Lestat. But now we've had the series, and I believe the actor's name is Sam Reed, who fucking pissed all over everybody because his Lestat is amazing. And I had a look. I haven't watched any of the show yet. I saw some of the reviews online, and they're middling, but also what the fuck do the people know? Because what a bunch of bastards. But the deal that Anne Rice made with AMC for Interview with a Vampire was she sold the rights in perpetuity. So they're theirs forever. And also they've made, I think they're halfway through airing a series called based on the Mayfair Witches, which is another series of books that Anne Rice did about a family of witches and stuff. And some of the characters cross over in the novels. I know Lestat meets some of the witches at some point as well. It's been a while since I read them. I might have to do an Wikipedia refresh before I watch the it's been a while before I watch the series, but I'm still going to give it a go because they've never done anything with the Mayfair Witches before, and some of those ladies were very powerful and very impressive. Haven't watched any of it yet, so what I'll do is I'll watch it I'll watch some of it before the next episode and give you my
I've watched the first episode of Interview with a Vampire.
And of Interview with a Vampire. That's phenomenal. That series.
I watched the first episode of Interview with a Vampire and I thought, okay, they're doing something different and they're leaning heavily into it. But I really liked the fact that it's a different story at the start, and then they go, actually, this is kind of a sequel, as well as being a completely different story. Because when he gets to his gaff in Dubai, it's like, the last time I interviewed you, motherfucker, you left me to die, and it's like,
yes,
oh, okay, this is different.
Yeah. So it's the same reporter, it's Christian Slater's character, only another, isn't it, 25 years later?
Yeah, like it's set now.
Now, yeah. So he's re-interviewing Louis.
Interview, but different time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have, I think I've said this to you guys before, they've set the series, so the story of Louis that you see in the film, they've set it in more recent times, so they've set it in kind of turn of the 20th century New Orleans as opposed to the 18th century, and the fact that Louis is a person of color as well adds an interesting extra kind of dynamic to the story. I initially I was like, the story trying to do messing with a classic here, but it's very good. And the the performances from the three main characters are great. I really like a friend of mine wasn't terribly impressed with the actor who plays Louis. His name I've forgotten, but he plays a Grey Worm in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
I think he's great, but him and Lestat play well off each other. So I thought it was a really good series and very short, like 7 episodes.
Whoa.
Jacob Anderson.
To go on for 10 or 12.
Jacob Anderson. He's great because he's very because of the character that Grey Worm is, he doesn't emote a lot in Game of Thrones, where you actually get to see him act in Interview with a Vampire, and I really liked it.
Has it been greenlit for a second season?
I think so, but I don't want to put money on it.
Like season 1 only came out it only came out late last year, so I mean it's not as it's not as if it's like it's been waiting in fucking limbo to find out, because I think it only aired at Halloween in 2022. So.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Was there any reason why it was just 7 episodes? Because usually we're used to 10 or 12.
I'm very thankful that American cable shows seem to have taken the BBC approach to a lot of new TV.
BBC are like 6 and done.
6 and done.
That can be good.
Yeah, like there's a lot of shows that I'm trying to catch up on that are like I've recently watched a couple of things, and there's one that it's in the barrel ready to be fucking shot out. I cannot wait to see it. It's 4 episodes. Right? I found it pure fluke. The show, and I think it came out a couple of years ago. It's actually about 2-3 years old now, and it's literally one and done 4 episodes. It's called The Lambs of God. Right?
Oh, I've heard about this.
And it's the premise fascinates me. It's basically about this remote island. I think it's off the coast of Australia, where there's this monastery or nunnery, and there's 3 nuns of different ages. Think of the 3 witches from Macbeth, right?
Oh fuck! I watched this. Yeah.
Did you see it? So they live in this remote island, and they've been forgotten about, and all of a sudden the Catholic Church comes to reclaim the island, and they send one solitary priest. and he just wasn't expecting to find them there. And that's all I know about it. I've got the 4
I
episodes.
saw that on Pornhub. It was about 12 minutes, 36 seconds long. Is that right?
Wayne, what kind of genre is it?
I when I looked it up, it came through as psychological horror.
Right,
But
I was waiting for the
don't
second word. So
know. I don't know if it is though, because I want Jill to confirm that.
The
for me.
guy who plays the Ignatius, the
Priest.
dude in Lambs of God, the priest, is Lestat from.
How's that for an unknown tangent right there?
Yeah, and
Look
one
at you
of
guys.
and one of the nuns is in The Handmaid's Tale, and Dowd, I think her name is. She's fucking a phenomenal actress. She was in The Leftovers with Justin Theroux, and that's another fucking great series. 3 seasons.
One of the other nuns was the mum in Babadook.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So it's an Australian
know where it's
production, but
from.
it was picked up by Amazon I think, in
Australian.
the States, but we don't have it here. So I had to go about it the Yar way.
You had to go and you had to go
But
far.
I saw a recommendation. I'm like, here, I'm having that. Look, it just spoke to me. Just that idea, that premise was just like, that sounds amazing. Because apparently the nuns get up there like, no, this is our island. Fuck off. And they get a bit fucking Wicker Man on them. Apparently, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I will watch it. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm thinking of Braveheart, that guy that goes, my fucking island. So loads of axes and
Stephen, the Mad Irishman. It's fine. Your island. You mean Ireland? Fine.
Have any of you watched The Last of Us?
Yeah.
Yes, I have watched 4 episodes. I haven't watched the most recent one.
It came out.
I'm going to buy the service it's on when Succession comes out and watch it.
They're like, I'm so impatient for Succession and the last season of Ted Lasso. It's so good. The Last of Us, I love it.
It's brilliant.
I don't want to give any spoilers. The performances are phenomenal. I got really excited about the fact that Anna Torv was in it because she was great in Fringe. Big fan of Anna Torv.
It took a second for me to peg it was her because I'm a big fan of Fringe as well, Jill. And it just
but it's been ages since we saw it. Like, the show is what, 10 years old?
I did a stand up the chair when I was watching it, and they were like, no one knew who I was like, it's Fringe. And they were like, Darren, calm down.
So Jill, can I just do a quick check here? You haven't played the game, have you?
Have not.
You do have the game. Though.
I think I have your copy of the game.
Yes, you do. I do. I gave you that game saying, Jill,
I know, dude.
You will
dude, I should
enjoy
give
this
you back
game.
that console.
No, that's your console now.
I've been like, I don't know what it is. I have some mental block about like gaming myself, but I've gotten into games with Liam. Like, we're 5 episodes into the 9 episodes Skywalker saga of Lego Star Wars.
Look.
Which is
valid.
So much fun. So much.
I didn't expect that to be the game, but okay.
Well, It Takes Two that got me in.
No shame.
It was, to be fair, it was Limbo, It Takes Two, and then Lego Star Wars, and now and he keeps going. You know what? I've got an Nintendo emulator that you can have all the old school games on. And I'm like, yes, let's play Donkey Kong. Because back to The Last of Us.
The Last of Us. So the reason, and that's the reason why I was like, play this game. It is that and its sequel for me are in my top 5 all-time games ever.
Oh, we know if we go back to the Pubcast where you're talking about those games, Wayne, like it comes across, and I think even myself and Jill know how epic that game was because how it got into the culture.
Absolutely. So many people talk about it.
Jill, I'm with you on the brain fog thing. Video games, especially something like that, is so immersive and it will just rinse you out. And if you have say kind of a stressful job, or say quite an involved job, say you're just not looking at anyone, but you would rather play Donkey Kong than be dragged over the coals by this amazing story. And but it's why people it's why Netflix's most popular thing is Friends. Like sometimes
I'm
people
also
just don't want to be
afraid
challenged.
I'm also afraid I'll like lose mad portions of time to video games. That said,
Yeah.
I I started my DS9 rewatch not that long ago, and I'm already on season 6.
Nice.
So
Yeah. When it's
I don't
not
know.
homework,
It's
you
not
can fart
homework,
through it.
but also I'm like, my brain can't cope with other things at the moment. Let's
No.
comfort telly.
Sure, no,
Yeah.
100% I get that. I mean, for me, that's comfort gaming. I
Yes,
I was only talking to Kev there couple of nights
It's
ago.
hard though. You have to shoot things.
Well, that's it. Like, but I was having a conversation with Kev about stuff we're working on together with Jill at the moment, and me and Kev, there was a moment there when me and Kev were at a very collaborative stage at the early doors of what we're currently working on, where we played through Elden Ring together. And that was our game together. And Elden Ring, I have pumped, like Darren saying, like that's why I kind of, if people were wondering why I was pulling a face when Darren said that Dead Space was a 10-hour game, I've pumped 200 hours into Elden Ring.
Oh God, the Dark Souls franchise and Elden Ring.
Yeah,
Again,
so
but that's why you pay that much money for
Sure.
that type of game.
yeah, that's a game I'll pay 70 quid for. But
Yeah, definitely.
my point being is that The Last of Us, even though it's extremely traumatic, is comfort for me.
And
Right.
can I ask, Wayne, because like I've played or I've been a spectator on certain games like that are more, they're kind of story driven games, or they're more rather than like a beat 'em up or a first person shooter or whatever. Like I was a spectator, and now I kind of want to play the likes of the Telltale games, mainly because I like the subject
Walking Dead
matters that have
movies.
been used, and I love like and I love the tone. I love the animation they use. I think they're beautiful games. And is what, like, explain to me like I'm 5. Explain to me like I'm Amelia. What is the playthrough like for The Last of Us? Like, is
So
it mad action? Is it suspense? Is it story? You have to make choices and potentially kill a character. What is it?
kind of all of the above. So the thing about
Okay, so it's a good mix.
it is a fantastic mix. That it's heavily story driven, though, heavily character driven.
Yeah.
The beauty about The Last of
character-driven.
Us, The Last of Us broke. I don't know whether it broke a new ground, but it definitely broke a mold when it came to the level of acting and storytelling and direction for a game. When The Last of Us, you have to remember, The Last of Us first got released on the PS3.
Oh
That's
wow.
a while ago. Like,
That's a good while ago, but even still, like it's been re-released on every iteration of the PlayStation since then. It's had a PS4 re-release, and it's now had a PS5
testament
re-release.
to it, really.
There is a reason why people look at that as a benchmark of how to actually produce, and it's a reason how to produce a game that will grab people, and it's also a reason why they were able to so easily adapt it into a TV show by the original director and partially creative team who were responsible for the game are heavily involved, if not directly involved, with the TV show. And even down to the actors and the cast that are involved. Now, I would like to toast, raise
Annie
my
Wershing.
glass to Annie Wershing, because Annie Wershing, who passed away tragically at the age of 45,
Original Tess.
the original Tess, we will raise a glass to her and toast her memory, because she was the original Tess in the game, and she was phenomenal.
And she was the board queen in Picard.
She was Borg Queen in Picard. She was in 24. She's in a rake of stuff.
Yes.
She was in Castle. She was in The Rookie. She's been in a load of stuff. She's a brilliant character actor, and she was the original Tess. And they even did a live action retelling of the game in parts. They did a recreation of it live on stage with like Annie and Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson and a couple of other actors I think were involved, where they did certain scenes from the game and they did it up on stage as actors. It's available to watch on YouTube. But the reason why I think Last of Us is such a good example of how to produce any piece of media is that it's so easily adapted into a TV show, because it was and the initial version of it was so well produced and so well directed and so well acted and so well put together.
Right.
The game itself, the gameplay, is phenomenal as well. because of
Mhm.
like at different stages there's very memorable moments, but the game itself is just again a benchmark on how to produce something within that genre and how it drives itself. Because a lot of games at the time that were like, if you take the original God of War games, they were very much relied on what would have been called quick time events, or where you have to hit a certain button to do a certain thing. That is in The Last of Us to a certain degree, but it's executed in such a way that it surpasses what came before and has influenced games since. Like we'd have spoken about the Alien game and Dead Space and all that type of stuff. It's those benchmark titles that have stayed with them, and that's why they keep getting remade. That's why Dead Space has gotten been remade, because that is that game is a remake from the ground up. They rebuilt the engine, they rebuilt the game. That's why it's now on the PS5. They're doing that all the time with key moments in gaming, because one, they'll know they'll sell, and two, they want to preserve these things for a couple of years. Like, it's what Nintendo was built their entire fucking gaming system on. That and Sony and Xbox are learning from that. Sony and Microsoft are learning from that. But no, the Last of Us itself, the game itself, even the version that you have, which is the PS4 version, it is an experience, and it's a different game to play now that I'm a parent.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So when I first played that game, I wasn't a parent. I wasn't a day-to-day parent who looked after a kid and had a child they were responsible for.
Your brain chemistry gets ruined.
But playing that game and also watching that show, because they have...
And playing that game as the father of a strong-willed young lady.
We probably have the opportunity to do it maybe the best way around, watching the show first.
I don't know.
Because you can't decide anything in the TV show. It's just happening.
Well, there's moments in the game that just happen. Like, the intro of that game is soul destroying. Just like the intro of that episode, this TV show is soul destroying. As a parent,
they got the casting right for it. Is one thing where, like, I'm not going to spoil it, but like, and I will put in my 2 cents. Like, as much as I love like I play computer games to kill monsters and just unwind. To say how good the story was of The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2, I don't view that as a zombie game. I was playing that for the story, to see where the characters, what happened to them. And in work, I remember like saying, because someone like a friend, someone in work, he watches The Walking Dead, but he won't watch any of the other shows because he's just burnt out. And he's saying like, I don't know about The Last of Us, it's been done. And I'm like, you're not watching The Last of Us for the zombies, you're watching them because you care about the characters.
Yeah,
I would have said that about The Walking Dead, though. I would have said.
See, a lot of people don't see. I personally, Jill, up to maybe a couple of the first early seasons, yes. Up until The Walking Dead had me very early on.
Yeah.
Up until maybe about season 4 or 5, when the people in the show I cared about. Like, definitely when it got to Herschel's death and the governor and stuff like that, that was peak Walking Dead. That was peak.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about Last of Us is they say they're going to get 4 seasons out of it max. Because it's 2 per game.
Okay.
2 seasons per game, right? That's the way they're meant to be doing it. That's 2 seasons per game. And they have made changes to the story, but not drastically changing anything. But they've made changes to the story that original fans of the game would be like, oh, this is new. And to keep them engaged. There's a lot there. A lot of the beats are the same. A lot of the story beats are the same. A lot of the basic concepts are the same. But this key events completely very similar.
Without spoilers,
well, I mean, I don't see a problem with being spoilerish to a degree. I mean, episode 3 in particular of the show.
That's what I was going to say. That one character that they made an episode was brilliant. Like
that's a bottle episode.
Well, episode 3 of that show, if it doesn't get an Emmy for everything, I'll be fucking.
I was balling.
Everyone was. Yeah. They took so Kim. You have no reference for this because you haven't played the game. I take it, and you haven't watched the show yet.
But I know that it was being in love at the end of the world story.
Yeah.
And it absolutely cut. I can sense public opinion, and people's legs were just cut out from under them. And you love to see it. You love being devastated by
the joy and the
love.
love of that episode. So heavily outweighed the negativity for that episode because of the subject matter. That the negativity was just drowned out completely.
Yeah.
Which is what you
gamers,
love to fucking
gamers
see.
literally need fucking injections of human feelings.
But like it was like gamers that were like invested in what those characters were from. That's how good the game was, because they made, even with the most subtlest of hints, like the characterization of the character of Bill in the game is a bit different to what it was in the show. Not too different. He was a cantankerous fucking prepper. That's what he was. And that's what allowed him to survive in the game. And there's hints and general fingers going, no, they were a couple, but the relationship is not there in the game. You don't see it. You see the end result of what happens at the end in the game. You don't see what they give you in the show. And what they give you in the show is nothing short of what was it? Do you remember the episode of Star Trek Inner Light where Picard finds the flute?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Episode. Yeah.
And he lives a life of an individual. So the whole thing of that episode of Star Trek is Picard finds a flute and he gets imbued with the memories of the person who originally owned the flute, who lived on an alien planet who has since expired. The alien planet's gone.
Right.
And he relives this individual's life in his head. Like he's inside the Matrix and that's been injected into his memory. It's like he lives that life. We get the moment from, like, it's like they took a slice of what that story was that wasn't in the game and just gave us these two characters' lives together in that literal less than an hour of TV. Writing, acting, directing, off the charts. Off the charts good.
And compressed like 20 years of a story into an hour. When you think about when Bill and Frank, when the event happens and when Bill and Frank meet, up to the end of the episode, like it's if it's not 20 years, it's the guts of 2 decades, and it's my heart by the end of it.
It's been so long
good.
since I played the game. I'd forgotten about, like, I once I watched the episode, it all came back to us. But I think it was just so lovely done, just to put that in there, just like from I don't want to say anything because there's people that haven't played The Last of Us, but I remember
I'm gonna put an asterisk on this one, D-Man. That game has been out, like I said, since the PS3.
Okay, so I can't.
So
it's. I know it's a classic. I know it's a must-play game, and if I know that, then the word is
people
out.
do.
But it was so, because playing computer games, especially in The Walking Dead, you're used to a lot of instant horror sadness happening. So I was seeing Bill Offerman as Bill, like, and I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting. And then the guy in when he meets the man for the first time, I was on he's going to have to kill him. He's going to betray him. My brain was going what we're used to expecting. And then time went by and I'm like, hang on. And then I started caring for the characters and I'm like, oh, they're going a different way. This is awesome. And then when the people attack the fence and what happens, you're like, oh no, I was wrong. And then by the end of it, I'm like, oh man, why am
you're wrecked by the end? It's been like,
and I thought it was going to be he was going to betray him and shoot him, and it's based on it. But then I just was like, and then at the end, I'm like, I had a little bit of a think, and I was like, that's your man. Oh, that makes sense now. But and I'm glad not that it's a good way, but it was as your man said, it was a very he was very romantic, but he wasn't happy, but it was very romantic gesture, and it was nice that they put that in there. Both great actors.
I mean, just to give people a kind of, like, anyone that's played the game has played the game. Anyone that's want to play the game has played the game at this point. So just in the game, when you meet Bill, he's by himself. You were aware that Frank existed at some point, and you were aware that Frank was his quote-unquote partner. But you think, when you first meet Bill, you think he's a partner, as in a partner in crime. You don't think they're together. And then you're going through, so Bill is leading Joel and Ellie through a section of these old houses, and and you come across a few clickers. There's a few moments. You're basically going to get a truck, so Ellie and Joel can get the fuck and drive, which then leads on to what leads on to. You come across a house where you think the truck is. Bill thinks the truck is here, and you go break into the house, and it's in disarray, and you find a body of a body hanging. So a person's hung themselves, and there's a note. And Joel finds the note, and it's addressed to Bill, and it's Frank saying that fuck him, he was a terrible partner, he never liked him. It was a real bitter end to the relationship. And Joel then informs Bill that it was like, you know, he says, "Oh, I found the letter," but I don't think he tells him what the crack is. But then Bill says, "He was my partner," and the inflection on how he says it, it's like, oh, he was his partner.
Yeah.
So it's much more subtle in the game. It's not like right in your
probably
face.
Had to. You know what gamers are like, Wayne.
I'm sorry, Kim. I mean, I'll take umbrage with that because I know a lot of gamers. I know a lot of gamers.
No,
who are,
yes, we do, and we know you. But there's a lot of
bad world of gamers.
There's a lot of people out there that like to well, you see it every time there is any character in anything that doesn't.
But that's not just
like
gamers,
Joel
though. That's
from
just
The Last of Us.
people.
Yes,
Humanity.
but gamers spend more time on their own, and it shows. And it's some of the most poisonous things I've ever seen. It's just they kind of stay together mostly.
I think
that
that can be come across fandoms. We've covered that topic many times.
That's true,
Yes,
Wayne.
that's
That's true. But if you if like women joining in squad games and things like that, like it's
Is that still
vile.
a thing? Is that still a thing?
Yeah. I saw some nice ones this week. Yeah. So I think it's just we're enlightened. We're older. We know
we're very lucky in our
balancing
friends.
all their media.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're very lucky in our
Yeah.
Well,
friends.
is it luck, Wayne? Water finds its own level.
Yeah, I think those dicks, unfortunately, the mean people tend to scream the loudest.
Yeah,
They load the
maybe,
hateful
yeah.
things.
And
The
you
nice
guys are
people,
never going to hear it.
you know, like, but we.
Oh no,
we
I've
stay away from them,
heard
you know?
it. It's just I just didn't think.
No, it's not directed at you.
Yeah.
It's never going to be directed at
But
you.
even when I was young, I don't know, maybe it's my brain. I would not think that type thing would, like, if they were to be more vocal in The Last of Us back then, that I would have been cool, and then I would have just played the game. But
Yeah, but yeah, it's not.
everybody's
It's
like
not.
that.
Yeah, but your
It's-
sound, Darren.
Yeah, your sound, Darren.
your sound. It sucks. It still
Sound.
sucks that to this day
Does,
we're
yeah.
getting that shit. But
Yeah.
and it angers me, and I don't like getting angry. But it's like
But I like that
everywhere should
the
be able to
acting
have everyone in it.
performance. Yeah, but
You know?
your acting performance on the word partner to put it over like that.
Yeah, but
is
that's the thing.
amazing.
Like, and that's again that raises that level of what that game is. It raises the actual people involved, the actors involved, the performances involved, the storytelling. And
The other thing is, Wayne, that then makes all the shit I saw about there's nothing to do with the story. You're like, well, yeah, it is. The way they were talking about it, I thought that these characters didn't exist at all in the game, and it was just done as a pace setter and a world builder.
yeah.
The characters actually being in the game makes the criticism utter nonsense.
Well, that's
Even more unnecessary.
Which pretty much sums up that type of criticism, utter nonsense.
Yeah.
I think that type of stuff, it just goes to show that I just don't understand it, because it's clearly like people didn't get the nuance. It's not that it wasn't even a nuanced situation. Like the
They
way
just don't want to see it.
yeah, that's it. Like, it's blinders, complete blinders.
And they don't realize, and they won't admit that they just don't want to see it. They'll just say it's
in
not-
those situations,
not
I think the gamer does protest too much. That's my
Yeah.
kind of take on that one. But anyone that needs to scream that loud about that type of stuff, it's less about what the content is and more about themselves.
Yeah.
They really show their
Absolutely.
arse. I
Yeah.
think Wayne.
Imagine ratting on
fact-
yourself.
I think the fact that
Careful,
that
Julia. Gar is shown.
Now that's me helmet. Imagine ratting on
I
yourself
saw
like
Garrett.
that. So good.
I saw a guard today in Navan delivering eggs to a deli. Thinking about it now, it mightn't have been him, but it looked very like him.
I wanted to be
Gar
him.
has a
I
doppelganger in Navan.
wanted to be him.
Oh, and I want him to have a big, thick Navan accent.
No,
on
I
him as well.
just wanted to be Gar delivering eggs in Navan just as a side gig.
Just this
on his
big-
little motorized scooter.
Oh no, it was a big van. It was a big van, and he was a big man. It was Gar sized and shaped. Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Well, look,
Anyway,
The Last of Us is a triumph from start to finish so far. 5 episodes
Yeah.
in. I watched the 5th episode
I'm-
this evening, actually, just before I had it on while I was cooking dinner.
all right.
And it's pitch perfect. They've the changes that they've made in the story are not in any way world breaking, but they're beautiful all the same. It's a retelling of the same idea, and the changes that they've made are just fine. I think they're like they've improved parts of it and kind of made things a bit like more accessible for a lot of people that like. Do you know that The Last of Us 2 was the first ever game that was accessible for blind people?
No, I did not know that.
Like,
There's a full accessibility mode. I saw this online the other day of a guy who was blind, who has never played a game before. But when he lost his sight, he had not really played games beforehand, but he's like, I've never played this type of game before. And you see it, they actually have, it's like Daredevil gaming. It's echo recognition that they have built into this
So
game.
he's turning when he hears, and
So there's beeps and sound cues to show and he's playing the game perfectly fine with no issue whatsoever because of the way it's built in. Like, that's The Last of Us Part 2. And in the actual TV show, the representation that they have in the TV show, in episode 5, they make a character choice that's a completely different thing to what was in the game, but it's a welcome choice.
change.
And it
That's
builds on the relationship between two particular characters from the game in the show, and it strengthens a bond that makes some stuff that happens even more heartbreaking, because that's what this story will do. It will break your heart
Right.
over and
It's gonna
over
kill
and
us
over
all.
and over again.
so good. The stories are.
It is perfection. So one thing I will say, that what The Last of Us has done, you know, that old school idea that a video game adaptation is a curse when it goes into media that's not a video
Yeah.
game. That is a
Yeah,
thing of
well,
the
can't
past.
relate because I saw
Broken it.
Detective Pikachu, so
Well, that's it. I mean, like, if you can, I can say that easily, since the likes of Sonic and Detective Pikachu
Yep.
and now The
Yeah.
Last of Us, we've gotten to a point where we're actually starting, I think we talked about this on a very old Pubcast.
Yeah.
We talked about the lack of appreciation for video gaming as a media of entertainment.
Yeah.
And is now starting to translate, because there's the quality has caught up, and is now, because
Yeah.
like,
you
I think
can now deliver what was in your head because the tech exists. I have to take something back, Wayne. I keep saying gamers like a pejorative. And if you saw the hours that I put in, it's ridiculous.
Kim,
Also,
I'm
when
well
you said
aware
about
of the hours.
the accessibility
She has an Animal
feature,
Crossing problem.
there's an accessibility feature, and for blind people to be able to play. There are so many differently abled people playing games because they can now, with special keyboards, special voice commands and things like that. And the tech has brought them in too. And if you can't move, you can still play games. And it's kind of a lovely side of it. And I keep mentioning the negative aspects because there's so far to go. They're very fucking closed off. They're very
The
closed
dark
off.
part
They're
of
the
my
way
the dark part of my brain went to a point there where I really the dark comedy part of my brain went somewhere there. I don't know what
Yeah, I'm
direction.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Actually, you know yourself that there are really toxic, exclusionary people in D&D, for example. And it's the same kind of person that tries to bring down gaming as a kind of social activity. Whereas we know so many very high functioning people that kind of have a good attitude to these things. So I wish to apologize for yelling gamers as an insult, because it's probably,
Because you
I think
fucking
I
are
have-
one.
But Wayne,
One of us.
there's a faction that would never take me in because of the kind of things I'm playing. Oh, by the way, I started Witcher 3 again.
Okay, it's allowed.
I finished Witcher 3 again.
I have to start it again, but I will.
Oh, I
I have
finished.
not played it.
Oh wow! I finished Blood and Wine the other day, which is the last expansion. It's just
I love the card game.
single tier.
Maybe I'll get around to it eventually. Maybe I'll be
Oh.
like, what's all
Jill.
this
Hey, Wayne.
nonsense that
Jill.
Wayne's
Or-
been talking about that they changed for the show?
Jill, if you get the deluxe edition with the Wild Hunt included, he starts off in the bat.
He does.
That
I
the
have
wa-
seen
the-
I have
the
seen
wild
the footage.
the Wild
on
Hunt is
YouTube.
the base game. You want to get
Yeah.
it's Wild Hunt, and then you have
Oh,
Weird.
blood and yeah.
Blood and Wine, and then
No,
Flesh
the-
and Stuff.
okay, so
Flesh and
the-
Stone. There's two deals, but the like you can buy The Witcher 3. They'll probably just give you Witcher 3 now because
They
it's
do
so
now
cheap
with
as
the
chips.
DLC.
Like you can buy it like for like a
Have
fiver.
Witcher 3.
Have it.
Hey,
Go
hey, we
on.
had a Nintendo Direct. We had a Tears of the Kingdom second trailer.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Speaking-
I mean,
speaking
that
of
game
special-
ruined it for everyone else trying to do open world games for a while there, and
Yeah.
they had to follow up this ridiculously this unbelievable game that just like this absolute mold breaking game, and they had to follow it, but they couldn't throw away all the goodwill that they had to add things. And how would you even be in them meetings? How would you be in the first 10 meetings going, okay, so we made this, now we have to do something else? Where would you start? And it's just
Yeah, there's no. That's a dinner plate I want to eat up. Like that's some good food right there. Really, like
How long until it's out?
oh, my
Um,
kids are going to be
not
eating pizza
long
for at
actually.
least
It's
3 days.
it's late.
No.
It's later this
May.
year. Yeah, it's.
May,
I
yeah.
mean,
Love it.
but I'm like, it's funny. I said this to Kev the other night, like as well. Going back, Elden Ring is the Dark Souls equivalent of Breath of the Wild. That's how good
Mhm.
Elden Ring is, right? And I was playing it. I went back into it. I jumped back in to my last save game, which was like I hadn't played it in a while. I jumped back into my last save game. You know when you do that in a game, you jump into a save
Yeah.
game you haven't done it in a while. You're like, it's like Gandalf's like I've
What
no
was I doing?
I've
Yeah,
no
that's
memory
where
of
I
this
was going.
place.
Memory
no
of this,
memory of this
yeah,
place at all. So I was standing there. I've got like my character is literally unstoppable in End of the Ring. I'm like full blood build, 2 massive katanas. I'm like, what do I do now? Where do I go? Came up against the boss and I was like, oh, and just by the pure fluke of the fact that my energy bar is like the length of the fucking screen, I'm like, I survived that one. But
Mm.
the Breath of the Wild is the same. When they announced the new one and I saw the first trailer of the new one, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and play Breath of the Wild again from the start. And I jumped back into it and was like, oh, this is when you first land in. This game is actually hard. Because the last time I played this, I had fucking everything. I had like an Inca motorcycle for fuck's sake that I was like zipping around the land on. So it was like,
And now you've got a stick
I've got a
and your
stick.
twink body.
yeah, and an
off you
apple.
go.
I'm like, oh, okay. It's like
It's
literally
one I haven't played. I have to get. It's my brother.
dude.
We have this weird thing. Whereas if Alan's playing a game, I won't play it for a while, and he's got all the Zelda games, and I think I've only played half of them. That's one where I keep on meaning I'll do it, and I will do it, but I'll probably the new one will come out, and I'll go fuck.
I don't know. I'm
Oh, Darren, if you
Yeah.
put 10 hours in Breath of the Wild, you'll have the best time of your fucking life.
Awesome. I love those type of games.
It's
I
so
did
good,
watch
and
Alan
it's-
every
it's
now and then
great.
when he was playing it. I was coming in going like, don't mind me.
People
good.
say all the time there's no wrong way to do stuff in games, but in Breath of the Wild, there's no wrong. I can be a hidey coward, and Patrick can be an absolute mashy cranium stomping munchkin in the same game, and it's beautiful.
There's so many, like, you could look up on YouTube the amount of videos that have really intelligent ways of solving the puzzles that in the game, like on the different dungeons that you go into, but that are like so clever that you skip the entire fucking dungeon that gets
Yeah.
you to the last
Yeah.
room just to unlock
Ridiculous.
shit. It's like all these. It's like you're back in It's like you're back in physics class trying to build the best mousetrap ever. And
Wait, you have to build mousetraps and
it's
stuff
no,
like
but
that?
it's the ingenuity that you have to be able to go. You know what? There's abilities in the game though. Like if you've played Breath of the Wild, you know what I'm talking about when you're saying, right, I'm gonna freeze this rock, I'm gonna hit it really hard 20 times with this hammer, and I'm gonna sit on it, and it's gonna launch me this way. And it's all these different things. It's like.
But did you see one of the complaints people had the last time? How could you complain about anything? But the only thing they said was we missed the dungeons. You know, it was such a part of Zelda lore. So now it looks like the shrines, which were great, and the dungeons, which are great, but they're very different. Now it looks like the shrines are overground.
Yeah.
Like dungeons. Oh, amazing.
I'm very excited
Amazing.
for it. I'm very excited. I think as gamers in this day and age, we're very much spoiled for a lot of the excellence that we have. But even, you know what's really weird? And maybe it's a group thing with the lads, but I've found that our group gaming, we have relied on schlocky, shitty multiplayer games because we're too spoiled with really good single player games that we've fallen
Right.
back on like AA multiplayer games. Myself and the lads are playing through Warhammer Chaos Bane at the moment, which is not in any way.
Here's a group of words.
Yeah,
That
is the-
Chaos Bane.
that is the
Is that a
best
read?
review. That is the best review of that, game
that
I've
is
ever
great.
heard.
I think I'd buy a game if that's what it said.
That-
I was like,
Yeah.
I have to get this game. Bunch of words.
That's a bunch
Hot
of
take.
words.
Well,
There's a
group
bunch of words. Oh, I think that is the most perfect review of this game in particular. And like Warhammer Chaos Bane, like that's a bunch of words. Yeah, it is. That's it. Like it does not. It's like the most low rent Diablo clone you've ever played, and it's like, yeah, this is grand, and it's just
It's grand, like.
it's grand. Like
Oh, you can just
I can play like this. That's it. I can just play like this.
Yeah, Wayne. What's the phrase? Aggressively grand.
Aggressively grand.
Aggressively
grand.
I love it.
But
Coin that here,
I
right?
think a lot of the games that we had with AAA have spoiled us to such a high level that when we do, like, I just want to turn something on and play it. It's those AA games
Yeah.
that are like,
It's the watching friends of that world. Yeah.
There was another show that I watched, complete fucking chimpanzee in a segue here.
Yeah.
I watched the new Joe Cornish produced show called Lockwood Co, based on a
Oh,
series.
and
I watched all of that on Netflix. Yeah.
Yes.
What
it's a-
and co?
Lockwood and Co. It's based
Okay.
on a series of 5 books. It's a young adult horror thing. Fantastic premise. Really, really cool premise. Myself and Arvine chunked again 8 episodes, and you're done for a season. Really good. The premise behind this show is that it's set in modern day, but 50 years past, ghosts appeared in the world, and if they touched people, they killed people. That was it. The touch of a ghost kills you. So the world is thrown into disarray, and it turns out that there's children in the world that are sensitive to ghosts. They can sense them. They've got different abilities where they can see them, they can talk to them, they can see where people have died, so on and so forth. So an agency is built up that hunts them and dispatches ghosts. There's a curfew in place, people can't go out at night, so on and so forth. Set in London. It's got a real kind of young Sherlock-y vibe to it. And like I said, it's set in a series of young adult books, young adult horror thriller books. Really good cast. Produced by Joe Cornish, directed. A couple of episodes are directed by him and written by him. So Joe Cornish is the individual, like
We
Adam and
love
Joe, and is
Director
responsible
of
for
Attack the Block.
Attack the Block. That launched a large chunk of careers. So I would highly recommend checking it out. 8 episodes. D-Man, I don't know how you felt about it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly
I
enjoyed
think
it.
there was a comic. There was a comic of it that I never. Well, I'm gonna.
Was there a comic?
There is, because I remember in the back when I was reading X-Men or something, or maybe I dreamt of this, but there used to be, or maybe I'm getting confused with the other thing that has a key in it. But I'm pretty sure
You're getting it mixed up with Lock and Key.
Am I definitely there
Lock
wasn't
and
Yeah.
Key is written by Joe Hill, who was the son of
but
Stephen
Yeah.
King.
when it, because I watched that show and I thought it was good, but when it appeared, I'm like, hang on, is this the? And then when I went in and did the verb, what got me was I've always had a problem with ghosts. As I'm not scared of them, just as a monster. I've been like, well, all they do is really scare you. Like, nothing's ever done like Ghostbusters, but the proton packs are kind of like the big kind of weapon that not many real people have. But if a ghost's in your house, it scares you and all this, and the Ghostbusters come. And I said they've never really done it well. And the only time they did it well was, if you remember, well, when Final Fantasy The Spirits Within came out.
Yes.
They had alien ghosts. And again, same premise, if you touch them, you die. And I said, this is brilliant. Why don't they do this with ghosts in the movie? And then that was what Spirit Within. I'm just trying to, I can't find the date
Spirits
for it.
Within was like 97.
2001 was when it. And
Spirits Within was 2001.
2001, yeah. I just because I brought it up because I knew the name, but I was like, I'm getting this right because it's been such a long time since I watched it. But the graphics were amazing, but nothing to do with what Final Fantasy I was used to. But yeah, so when this said there's ghosts dealing with them, I'm like, okay, it's going to be Ghostbusters. Oh, I don't know if I'll watch that because I'll just go back and watch Ghostbusters. And I was like, right, I'll give it a go. And as soon as I watched the first episode, and as soon as they said, no, you get touched by a ghost, you die. It's a plague. It's happened since the beginning. I was hooked. I watched 4 hours in one succession, and I only stopped so I would be happy to get. So I was looking forward to the next day to watch the other 4 because I knew if I did it all in one night, which I could have, I would have that kind of like, oh, what do I do now? And at the end of it, I have so many questions. I already reckon I figured out how the plague started, what's the plague. I've all these great ideas that I haven't had and felt in such a long time with TV shows that's why I'm like, I will if I'm getting like this, and it's been a while, which is kind of a shame. It's been a while, should I say, that
he's adding his own sound effects at this point. Jesus.
I know.
Look at him.
I've been so invested and it's funny because I've been
That's
racking
nice.
my
You do
brain
like
trying
to
think of what I've been watching lately.
Yeah.
And again, I forgot about that show because I binge watch it. But
Right.
it's so good. I don't think it would be struggle for anyone not to go, I have to find out what happens next. I have to find out I won't say what I was going to say. But yeah.
It is. No, it does.
You'll be like that, hopefully. And the ghosts are scary. If they touch you, you're gone.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, and there's some nice character actors in there too. But it's really, really, really good show. Highly recommended. It's called Lockwood Co. It's on Netflix. It's got 1 season so far. And
I hope they get it. That's why I binge watched it as well.
Like if you were to look at the reviews of it, and Rotten Tomatoes says it at 91%.
Sweet. That's
I should have known that he had something out because Joe Cornish is doing a few podcasts here and there, and he doesn't otherwise. Yeah, he's pretty private. So
yeah.
So
even Edgar Wright was pimping this on Instagram. Like Edgar Wright was all over it. Like he was just.
Edgar Wright did that McDonald's video or that McDonald's ad.
But it's like it's the McDonald's ad that doesn't show McDonald's at all.
I know, but it's so cheesy, and I know it's by design, but
yeah.
Got the eyebrows one.
Yeah,
it works. It works. That's all, and that's all it has to do is work.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's a McDonald's ad. Like it's not going to make me.
I mean,
buy
get your bags,
McDonald's.
sis.
Yeah, sure.
Get your bags.
Yeah. There actually, Kim, as you say this, and D-Man, I'm sorry for excluding you from this conversation that's about to ensue. Unless you're
going to talk about Drag Race, which I haven't watched.
Oh no, Jill, you haven't watched it either.
Nope.
Oh.
I have. I'm like so far behind. So it's what, season 15?
15. Yeah.
I haven't watched any season 15. Haven't seen season 4 of UK either.
I haven't seen 4 of UK either.
So Jill, we've seen about 16 seconds each of each queen.
Oh really?
Because it's an hour. And there were 16 queens to start. So you haven't really honestly missed much character development, but they're back to 90-minute episodes now.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, this is quoting Willem. They had to make room for the fake F slur of WeHo.
It's I will say it's been pretty fucking shit this season. It's been pretty bad.
So, and I actually, last time I talked to Jill and Wayne about Drag Race, I was genuinely sad that they didn't enjoy any of the queens. I'm like, yeah, they're not getting shown.
Nope.
They're not. Yeah. You're not getting a chance. This is their one chance in their career asterisk.
And they're not
This is
getting
their
it.
one chance, and they're not getting it. They're not getting
Are we
to show
are we
Wayne.
are we referencing 8 Mile twice in the one episode? Jesus Christ.
See, this is where I'm just like, do you
They're
know what?
missing their
Maybe I'll
chance
just
to blow.
maybe I'll just give up on Drag Race and give up on the RuPaul machine and just stick with like
Dragula.
Relay Brothers and all.
Well, you're
and
watching
all the
Dragula.
indie shit.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love
no,
them
I
bitches.
there's still the drag is like the fucking clothes are getting better and better, and
Ugh.
there's some really interesting characters in it this year, and I was really sad that Wayne hadn't glommed onto anyone yet, because I had.
Okay, right. I need to catch up.
There's no.
Find
They're
my
all.
winner.
Maybe it's because they're all.
They're shorter. You'll
They're
get through
shorter.
them.
Like
Listen. Yeah.
it's
No, I
just.
What were you
don't know.
saying,
I think
Wayne?
I just think it's. I don't know whether it's an MTV choice or it's an editing choice, but there's so many. It's just there's too many of them, and none of them are anyone that's getting
Yeah.
any attention. It's down to the fact that they're just cunts. That's it.
Well,
but not even
and
not even in a good way. Not even in a
Oh,
like.
not
yes,
even in the
good
detox
way.
way. Not even in the
Mistress
detox way.
in a good way,
No,
Wayne.
no, Mistress looks like
Yeah.
fucking Ron Jeremy decided to shave. Sorry, but
Oh,
Mistress is not a Mistress is not a good
Mistress
queen
is
for me. No.
Talking like she's in a drag race, like she's in a drag club dressing room, and nobody's done that for seasons and seasons, and nobody's ready anymore because everyone's sick of getting internet bullied. So they're trying to be nice when they're in there. And Mistress or Irene did not get the memo about behaving like ladies. They're just going for it, and I love that she's obviously a really damaged person, but she's funny as fuck at times.
I just
and
don't
she's
like
just
her.
like,
I don't like it.
yeah. If you don't like her, you won't give her the good faith
Don't
enough to
like
kind
it.
of.
No.
Don't
But
like it.
yeah, she was carrying me there. Now I haven't seen this week's episode. Apparently, there's problems with her in this week's episode coming out. But,
I'll catch up.
you will catch up. And the rig
It'll
outs. Oh, Jill, the rig
the
outs.
the rig outs.
The rig
Oh, no,
outs.
the-
And we
Oh,
actually
nobody else
had-
catwalk.
It's
we
gotten
had a
to
good
this.
acting challenge and a good snatch game.
Sorry, I'm still reading from the Queen of All Queens snatch game, which is probably going to resonate through Drag Race forever. So,
How is anybody supposed to do anything after
you
that?
know what I mean?
Right.
But I think D-Man's falling asleep now.
No, I'm letting you stop. No,
Yeah.
I am listening.
It was
I
just
just
like-
pick up on it.
Can I when you're done with your drag
That was
race
at the
talk,
game
I'll
session.
segue into something.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say to segue into talking about another queen. Last Friday, myself and Nat sat down and watched I Want to Dance with Somebody, the new Whitney Houston biopic.
Yeah.
And I know how you feel about biopic, Kim.
About
It's
what?
fine.
About what?
Biographical pictures of the musical kind, because you have given out about them in the past. It's very good.
Is she butch and has a low voice and is smoking and is
She does towards the end, and she has a girlfriend for the first good chunk
Yeah,
of the
no,
movie.
no, I
They
don't-
acknowledge Robin, what's her face, her partner.
okay, but she's not doing the
Bobby
fake
Brown.
voice that the record company made her talk in.
No, they do push the fact, like her dad is played by the incomparable Clark Peters,
Right.
and you know they push the fact that they wanted her to be America's princess.
Yeah.
She's like, that's not me, and they're like, but that's what's gonna sell records.
Okay.
So it kicks off from 1983 when she's discovered singing. So she's singing in the gospel choir in church, and she's her mother's backing singer, Sissy's backing singer in the club, and you know they push her out in front and get her to do a solo, and she's picked up by record producer played by Stanley Tucci, who's great. But it's from kind of 1983 to 2012.
Right.
The year she passed. But it's really good. It had like the music, it's all the stuff that was on the radio when I was a kid that my folks were
course.
listening to.
Yeah, my
so I
mother
have
played
big
Whitney
memory
nonstop.
berries. Yeah, exactly. And anytime Whitney comes on the radio, my dad is like, she's some voice.
Yeah, it
She
gives
was
as the kids
stunning
would say,
looking woman as well.
yes, absolutely. As the kid, although I wish someone would come back through time and ping me on the forehead and go, "That's a wig. That's a wig. Nobody has hair like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a wig." lose
Oh,
your
yeah,
unrealistic expectations for your curly hair, Kim.
Her dad gives out to her because she has her hair cropped like really short, and he was like, for God's sake, get a wig and look like a woman, like kind of thing.
Right.
Like berates her for being butch.
I think, as the kids might say, it gives me the ick telling someone's life story, especially after they've passed, if they have no involvement. Do you know? I don't trust anybody to tell me the truth.
Sure, yeah,
And
no, I get that. Yeah.
And I kept you either have to know their story well enough to know what's just a narrative that they've crafted for a film.
Yeah.
Because people obviously really are messy and weird and whatever. But I think there's people that they should leave alone. But yeah, good thing they put me in charge of the world so that I can decide. Isn't that good? I just, Oh, that's interesting, Jill. So they do actually try to do something. I saw the pictures. I saw the pictures of her in that, and I'm like, that wasn't Whitney at all. But of course, they do cover that.
They do cover that, and they cover, you know, the bad influence that Bobby was on her. Although in the movie, she's like, oh, you know, this woman was already there. Bobby just kind of brings it out. Yeah. And, you know, the hard conversations her manager is having with her going, you're actually ruining your moneymaker, like your voice, the thing that makes you, you know, like the smoke and the drink and the drugs. Yeah. It's screwing up your future.
Yeah. I mean, look at what we're like when the fog machine is on in Fibbers for the karaoke, and look at the toll that takes, and imagine if it was crack.
Wow.
I was a mezzo soprano once, and then I smoked as a teenager a lot.
Oh.
Hey, but look, our SingStar game is strong. That's all I'm saying.
It is.
It was so much
fucking
fun.
The plastic crack didn't affect my voice, which is great.
Yeah, the plastic crack didn't affect my voice.
That's
Wayne, did you see? Like, the other two mightn't be as interested in this as I am, because I'm a big mark for this kind of stuff. But so, you know, the way I have all of the Sandman things, and for a long time I have resisted the absolute Sandman collection because I'm like, it's another version, and you know, they're big.
You own it 3
tomes
times
of things. Right. They're coming out this November, so before my birthday. They're doing a new edition of the Sandman in 6 leather-bound books.
Oh, leather.
With
they just came
a Morpheus helm. With a Morpheus helm. And Neil is writing something new for it, albeit it's only a fucking letter. But I might have to buy it.
Yeah, I think
you have to.
Or you get your fella to buy it for you for your birthday. That's what you do.
Birthday and Christmas.
It's like $500 or something ridiculous.
Or you get your fella for you to buy it for your birthday.
Yeah, you're in like legit territory.
Yeah, I think you're in that. You're in that
not
500
10 years on where you're trying to save
€500 Neil Gaiman Sandman helmet phase. That's what you're in. That's what you're in.
Put loads of notes of things I would love to get and have that number one.
Tell him we'll throw in if we get to put our name.
I mean, in fairness though, right? If he's going to drop €500 on a Morpheus helmet, he better get the throw in as well. Like, so, I mean, I don't mean.
But it's like, you know, you read an article about, oh yeah, they're going to do another edition, leather bound, embossed with all the endless symbols on the spines, and I'm like,
I mean, that's
only a book, but like,
when is season 2? It's probably going to coincide with that, is it?
Well, the new edition is due, I want to say like mid-November this year. So I'm not entirely sure the release date of season 2 actually.
I mean, that smells like a promo. That's what that smells like.
It does. It does.
You know, that's very timely. Like, you know, I mean, that's kind of like, it's either gonna drop and then they're like, here's the trailer for season 2, or you know, so
Uncle Neil's getting us from 2 angles.
Well, I know that Irene got me for my birthday And I know you're going as well. You're going on April 1st, but I'm going on April 31st. March 31st, I'm going to see
Oh, the Ocean at the End of the Lane.
Lane in the Borgosh. We're going to see.
I'm missing Clan of Zymox for Ocean at the End of the Lane, but I'm fine with that.
That's a perfectly fine
some words.
trade-off. I think that's some words or that's a collection of words is the title of the episode. I think.
Yeah, it was a collection of words. Yeah,
That's a collection of words. Yeah.
I literally have no fucking idea what you just said.
It does sound like a detergent. It was.
Yeah, Clan of Zymox. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're a Dutch fucking gothy dark baby nonsense.
Has
Shocker.
anyone? I went to the cinema last week and I went to see a movie that's not normally my wheelhouse, but I had to.
Oh, go on.
The lead, Brendan Fraser, whatever he's in, I have to see it. You know, love
No,
him
The
in
Whale.
movie. Then the way that's what I was building up to. I went to see The Whale, and like people know in work that I go to the cinema on a Wednesday before I come home.
Yeah.
It's fine, and they were like, "So what are you going to go to see today?" And I was like, "I think I'm going to go see The Whale." And they were like, "That's not really your movie." And I was like, "Yeah, but Brendan Fraser's in it, and from what I'm hearing, it's really good. And from the gist of what I've heard about it, I really want to see like his acting skills in that, and why, like from the story perspective, would someone get that big?" And I loved it. It was I watched it
Did
from
it get you in the
start to finish.
feels?
So like again, we've been the feels like you're not. I don't feel like I'm watching. Like I felt like I was watching like a real person, and this was a true story. I actually had to check before we started talking about it. I won't go too many spoilers about it, but I can see why it's getting a lot of praise. It's great to see him back acting again.
Yeah.
All the other, like I didn't know nothing who was going to be it, didn't know what the story was about. In fact, I had a different idea about from. I won't say anymore, but when you go see it, you'll kind of go, oh, okay. There's a lot to this movie, and I love to talk about it when we've all watched it. But the people in it is like you've got Brendan Fraser playing the lead, you've got Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, you got Hong Chow from I remember her from Downsizing, and if it is the character, it's she's got great acting skills from going from that character in that movie to who she's playing in this. And then you've got someone I've seen her in what the first movie I seen her in was Minority Report. She played one of the psychics, and then I've seen her as playing Alpha.
Samantha Morton.
I was going to say it like but
She's in
Samantha
fucking tons of shit.
and
She's amazing.
she's scary. So when she comes on the screen, but a lovely person in real life. But when she came on the screen, I was expecting one thing, and then I got another. And it reminded me because it all takes place for obvious reasons in his house, in his one level house, and it reminded me of Inside Number 9.
I love
The lads that I remember them from the League of Gentlemen.
No.
I can't do their names justice, but they do it lovely where they have it like it's just in the one place, and they do a great story. And this is what we're like. It in some ways it's kind of scary, but it done really really well in that one kind of apartment. You just all the feels. It's one of these. I know I'm not really good with spoilers, but it's one that I want everyone to experience it the way I experience it, and then we all come back and have a chat. Because in work, I was like, it's like they're work people. I can spoil stuff, but even then, I was like, just go see it. I can't say stuff. Just go enjoy it and then come back.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not really big on Oscars and like who wins them and whatnot. I've never been like that. Like I make up my own mind if a film's good or not. But I would love
also Oscar
to win an Oscar
bait
for it.
is different to also Oscar bait is different to a good movie, as we know.
But I'd love to see him get the recognition for him. Like I like hearing bits about his past and whatnot. I remember back in the day when he was in Journey to the Center of the Earth and he didn't come back for the sequel, and The Rock came back, and I was like, "Oh, cool, The Rock." But it's only as an adult that I'm realizing like what he must have been going through not to do that part and whatnot. And it's kind of made me like the actor even more. And like I'm glad that he's back because it's something he loves. He's one of these rare people that do it because they want to do it, and they're so nice in real life. Like again, they say don't meet your heroes, but like I would like if he's ever at a Comic-Con, I'm going. Like it's not my thing, but I will go just to go hello.
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah. You'll get all the feels in this, and it's again not my Roadhouse usually, but There's a few movies that like this that I would watch, but lovely. And sad. All the emotions, like what they talk about in it, the dynamic between uh his carer and himself, and and then when it goes to the because obviously he's eating more than he should, and when they do those bits, they're kind of, you want to stop him, But anyway, I will not spoil it anymore, and I will recommend it. It is so good.
Sounds good, Dad.
I'd watch it
Very.
again. Like, yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah. I mean,
Lovely movie. But a
the
sad movie as well, if you get me, like all the feels.
I don't know what they've called. Is it the Renaissance or something, or the is that because of the,
Renaissance.
it's the the Renaissance, the Brendan Fraser
Yeah.
Renaissance that's been happening over the last while. It slowly but surely got momentum online through a few different things. Doom Patrol, I think, could probably take a big
Seeing him
credit for
curse for the first time
his.
was just brilliant.
But I mean, he's cursed on a lot of stuff that he's been in. I mean, there's one movie that I will always say that if you want to see Brendan Fraser act before The Whale, you watch God and Monsters with Ian McKellen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But he's been in so many films where he's actually gotten to be an actor and gotten to show his chops.
It's just getting the roles, isn't it? Being considered for the role.
Yeah.
You know what happened to him, don't you, Darren?
I know, I know bits.
He got injured and then abused.
Yeah, that's I
Yeah.
heard more the injured on the doing the stunts and not getting a stuntman. And I've got a few friends that are stunt people, and they tell me
Yeah.
the injuries, and I'm like, so to do that back then, and it felt more like they were like, can you do this? And he was like, yeah, and they didn't warn him. And then the abuse, it was just like, no wonder, like you would, especially at that time, because I think I like to think that nowadays you can speak up more about it, and you have more backing from friends and family if that type of stuff happens. But back then, I don't think, especially in Hollywood, that they would be believed as much. So, for him to disappear, because he was on his peak, and then suddenly vanish. And then he's back now, and you hear why. It's like, Jesus, for him to go through that. Like,
Darren, it's like
for anyone to go
anything
through
where people are overworked. Entertainment is especially bad because the jobs are so wanted that if anybody starts being trouble, there's 10 people to replace them.
Mhm.
And even if the person's trouble is due to somebody else, if you think you're going to get a headache and you've already got the schedule and the budget to think about, you're just going to cut people off for handiness. And it's been done, and it will be done in lots of industries forever, where you're just like, oh, this is a bit sticky. I remember her talking about something one time, and it sounded like it might be a bit sticky. For the sake of easiness, I'll just, it just happens, especially in Hollywood. Someone doesn't consent to be felt up once and they disappear. They just don't exist anymore. You know yourself, there's Florence Pugh is legally required to be in every movie now. Did you know that? So it's like you go through these bursts where it's just, or when I saw Jackie Brown, I'm like, oh my God, Robert Forster. Oh my God, where's he been? You're like, he was available. It's just nobody cast him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brendan Fraser has been so wonderful, but it's kind of lovely. But I actually, Darren, I got a bit of a whiff off the Whale. I thought it felt Oscar baity and it felt schmaltzy. So
again, I went because I was like, I want to see how, and I knew I was going in because that's got to be a lot of trauma for someone to get himself that big. But I had to go see it. I was really interested, and it's done really well, and it's kind of like, there's things that happen in that are happening in real life, and it's it gets you with on all the emotions. Like I felt like I was watching a true story.
Right.
But it's really good. Like, it's funny, like one thing I always remember, like the last movie I heard, and I hope the sound doesn't come in there because I just was looking it up, but the last movie I remember being advertised as I was walking through, I think the square or something, was Brendan Fraser's Furry Revenge, when he was kind of something with I've never watched it, but it got really.
Oh, Furry Vengeance, the
Furry
cartoon.
Vengeance. Although the other, so I said, yeah, he went, yeah, that one. But I thought that killed his career because it was a bad movie. So to find out now that
it was
what
down to the
happened
fact that
was
a
like-
producer or an executive in Hollywood was like, oh, making advances, and he had to. He got blacklisted because of that. It was how very much he was one of the few male victims of what we saw of like. I was very public about it anyway.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, of Hollywood producers and Hollywood executives going, which is
It's so undignified though, the way like even interviewers, the way they talk to actors. Like they just feel like they can say anything.
Have
to
you
them,
not
and
seen
you're
the
like,
way Vanity
"It's a
Fair have
person."
combated that recently? Vanity Fair have gotten 2 actors from popular films or films that are doing the numbers, and they put them together, and the actors interview each other.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I think this is a trailer of some.
There's loads of them now. Brendan Fraser did one with Adam Sandler, and then you had Colin Farrell did one with Jamie Lee Curtis. There's a load of different ones. They're up on the Vanity Fair YouTube channel.
I'd watch that.
But the whale I was a bit kind of standoffish with because Darren Aronofsky is the director, and he's been very much a hit and miss for me over the years. There's a severe level of plagiarism I always level on him because of Black Swan, being pretty much the same movie as the anime movie Paprika. Or not Paprika, Perfect Blue. Paprika is fucking Christopher Nolan's ripoff for Inception. But like Aronofsky has had hit and misses over the years. Like Aronofsky is responsible for The Fountain, for Pi, for Noah, Russell Crowe.
I liked Pi. The Fountain.
I thought she was going to say I like Noah.
That's just a weird movie.
I haven't seen Noah.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
liked Black Swan. The Fountain, I was like, what the fuck did I just watch?
The Fountain is a aesthetically impressive looking film.
It looks gorgeous, but it's a nonsense way.
I couldn't understand it. I had to go research it online to understand what was going on.
It's the whole thing about reincarnation. That's pretty much it. That's the basis of it. Like it's just all about reincarnation. It's it's kind of like an overly wrought version of What Dreams May Come. That's kind of where it levels itself at.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I'd just rather watch May Dreams May Come.
Then he directed Requiem for a Dream, a film you'll only ever watch once, because that's it. You're done. You've seen it. That's it.
I still haven't watched it.
It's in your head.
People
it's
have
done.
said to me, "You should watch it," but like also don't watch it.
Yeah, it's up there. Like it's one of those rare movies where you go, yeah, I've seen it. It's in the memory banks. I'm good.
Never need to do that again.
Yeah, I'm good. It's in there. And he
like
directed
Sleepers is one of them.
Sleepers, the Robert Redford film, or do you?
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, am I confusing that with Flatliners?
I was confusing it with Sneakers, which is
Sneakers.
Yeah, that too.
Oh
I got that.
No,
in my brain. I was like, I thought that was good.
No, Christian Slater wasn't in Sneakers. Robert Redford was Sneakers. Sneakers is the NSA hacking film.
Did I do the same thing as you and put Christian Slater in Sneakers? I did.
I just want to drink Joe Cola again. That's all.
Yeah. But yeah, so tonight's been a tangent.
Did you say Joke Hole or
Jolt?
Hole?
Well, I'm not going to spoil it, Kim. If that's where you want to, no, Jolt Cola, which is what happened.
Jolt Cola. I heard
Cola.
both. Joe Cole, who used to play for Chelsea, and Joke Hole, what I'm moving right now.
Don't you be bringing your football
reference.
up on this shit.
I know, sorry.
Jesus
Although
Christ.
Elon Musk is thinking of buying Man United.
Oh,
Why? Just go back to making exploding cars that you're not making and are nothing to do.
Or
with.
just fuck off, really.
Fuck off.
Yeah, entirely.
Just fuck off.
Just take a big fuck off.
Go colonize Mars by yourself. You and the rover up there by yourself.
Yeah,
Just
go and do that.
fuck off. Anyway.
With your shitty Elden Ring
has
Folks.
anybody...
Yeah? Go ahead, Jill.
I know it's a problematic movie. Things got cancelled in favor of it and it's still going ahead and the star is a bit of a mess. But has anybody watched the trailer for The Flash yet?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I read a sentence on Twitter last night. It exploded my brain. And it said, I can't believe they couldn't cancel The Flash because it was a load-bearing retcon.
Yeah! Amazing!
Yep.
Oh, it's so good.
Amazing.
Yep.
Oh, I
It
watched
had
the trailer and
everything
went,
riding on it.
This is why they're still backing it. But
Yeah,
also,
your man was
but
kidnapping
also-
kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, but like lots of things happen. We really need
Yeah.
to
So-
keep
so
it."
this
but
is-
Michael Keaton.
Let me just sum this up. And like, so there was we were having on our
on.
WhatsApp group, we were chatting earlier on, and or it was actually over the last couple of days.
Excuse me, you were talking to somebody else.
Yeah. I'm extremely
Writer.
popular, Kim.
Oh, we do know. We've been
Extremely
here.
Here's his hole.
Go on, Wayne.
Anyway, so we were chatting back and forth with the lads, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like the litmus test of will this make it or won't this make it? Here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So the Flash movie, like Jill said, it's load bearing, and like Kim said with the quote, it's load bearing. You don't understand how load bearing this is.
Yeah, I know.
Lego have not released any new DC material in the last year because all of their DC Lego backlog is Flash based.
Oh.
Every single piece of DC Lego is based off this movie. All the new Michael Keaton and it's all Michael Keaton Batman stuff. It's all new Michael Keaton Batman stuff. So it's not so much that this is an Ezra Miller film, even though there's fucking two of them in this fucking movie. Oh, I didn't like the guy before the fucking controversy.
Before this,
Like,
yeah.
I thought he's like the
they're a bit of a twat.
you know what it is? He's like the hanger-on shite off the taint of Joss Whedon. That's what he comes off as to me.
Yeah.
The way he
An image.
delivers dialogue, the way he talks, it's that horrible reminder that at one point we all thought Joss Whedon was the thing, and then he turned
We
out to be a
did.
complete scumbag.
Yeah.
And the way he delivers his dialogue reminds me of that era of us going, he knows everything, and all of a sudden, no, he's a scumbag. So I
Right.
kind of associate Ezra Miller with that in my brain for some reason. But it's just the way he is. But I just never liked him as an actor. I never liked him in anything that he's in.
Well,
Yeah.
I met them at the doctor when I got my buccal fat removed, obviously, because we're got the same face. But yeah, I like when all of that was happening, I'm like, how is this film still coming out? And you're like, oh.
I had to send on a timeline of the shit to the lads because they were like, what had he done? And then I found the timeline, sent the timeline on.
Yeah.
It's just mental.
Isn't
Yeah.
it remarkable how kind of normalish people would miss so much of this? Because you're never going to put his how they would miss, like, you might know about his bar fights, but you wouldn't know about the kidnapping or the stalking or the
That's it.
you know.
Like, it's crazy.
Mad.
So
But then they
this
have
is
two of them in it.
Let me just give you a small snippet, right? I know we launched into this, and Jill, thank you for bringing this up because I completely forgot. I
Yeah.
pushed this to the back of my mind. So, April 6th, 2020, a video surfaces of Miller appearing to choke a woman and throw her to the ground in a bar in Iceland. Right?
Right.
Yeah, great start.
April 2020, while still in Iceland, Miller invites local musicians to spend time with them, because they identify as bipolar, or bipolar.
Yeah.
Non-binary. Sorry, I've had wine.
Yes.
They identify as non-binary. So
Well, he hasn't yet, or they haven't yet been identified as bipolar, but
But it's still possible.
you know, maybe I'm foreshadowing here. But Miller invites local musicians to spend time with them at a hotel, and forgive me for my Icelandic connection here when I say this, Lugarbaki, if that's the correct pronunciation.
go for it.
While recording
Yeah.
music, including an 18-year-old woman who later alleges Miller psychologically abused her, becoming fixated on her breathing capabilities. Breathing, BREEDING.
Yeah, there's a touch of that. There's quite
Okay.
a lot of these. There's a nice undercurrent in red and black pill communities about breeding and notions that these people think they should be continuing the cycle that made it's a nice flavor that gets put in from time to time. But
Fast
look at
fo-
how many kids Elon Musk has. They're all like that. Fucking weird.
He just gives them serial numbers as names. So fast forward to March 19,
I
2022.
blame Grimes for that one. Grimes, you know what you did.
Grimes did crimes. The first in a series of legal issues in Hawaii, Miller is arrested for allegedly obstructing a highway in downtown Hilo and refusing to cooperate with police. Yeah. Like that's kind of like down here compared to the
There's someone on a
thing,
set.
right?
Yeah.
Miller is arrested again in Hawaii less than 10 days later, this time for disorderly conduct in a Honolulu karaoke bar after allegedly yelling obscenities, becoming agitated. Miller claims to have been accosted by a Nazi and accused the police of hate crime after they referred to Miller, who was non-binary, as Sir. Okay? And it goes on like this, all these wacky shit.
He threw a stool.
That's one of them, yeah. He threw a stool and hit a woman in the head. And, gashed her head open. Hilo then, still in Hawaii, couple files a restraining order against Miller, alleging that the star burst into the couple's bedroom, threatened to kill them, stole a wallet and a passport. The restraining order was dropped several weeks later. Like, this dude went off on a rage thing for like 2 years straight. Like, all the way up to like August of 2022. Like, which is nuts. Like, and yet, because, as you say, Kim, from that tweet, The Flash is such a load-bearing movie, they can't not but put it out there. Which is like mind-boggling, because if you consider what Warner Brothers have done over the last year, putting and literally carving out chunks of their media off HBO Max, off the schedule of release. Batgirl is completely gone. And if we go back to Brendan Fraser, who was playing Firefly in that film, he said like it was a cracking film, and yet it's never going to see the light of day now.
For tax reasons or something for that.
Like, if you think about it, they now have they have a movie. They have a Batgirl film that has an Oscar-nominated actor in the lead role as the villain. And they are not going to release that over a film that has an actor who has a history of abusive and ridiculous behavior, criminal behavior, who's playing two different roles in that one movie. They are releasing that film over another film where they have an Oscar-nominated actor in.
Still working with J.K. Rowling as well.
Oh, like that's a whole different podcast right there talking about
We're
that
not
bullshit.
doing that. Yeah.
Now, look, we can just sum it up and just say fuck turfs, just straight up.
Fuck that.
Fuck turfs.
Fuck them.
Here to
From a height.
world. Fuck them. But and anyone that supports them as well. But like it's just crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I do want to end on a high note that I think we're now going to adapt a new kind of rephrasing of a term thanks to D-Man. Earlier on, D-Man said that he never thought that the whale would be inside it. And this is not me slagging off D-Man, because I think this is an amazing new nod to Swayze and also a new use of a phrase. Instead of saying the whale was not within his wheelhouse, he said the whale was not within his roadhouse. And I think we definitely need to adapt that going forward.
Yes.
That if something is not in our roadhouse, that it's not something that we adhere to and
not good. Yeah.
Well, we've sat and we've watched it. We've commented on that. So any chance to get Roadhouse mentioned?
If it's not within your roadhouse, it's not within your interest, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Fred Fletch.
We love you, Fred.
Love you, Fred.
This has been Pubcast. We're just over the 2 hour mark. We're going to jump into it. This is fun, folks.
I've had all the wine.
I've literally had all the wine. I've none left.
I've had all the water. I've learned my lesson. No drink for me. No.
Folks, until the next time, I will say this. Shout out to our sponsors, Dublin City Comics and Dakota Irish. Go check out our latest episode of Sorcery Shenanigans on YouTube. Give us a like and a subscribe.
Please.
Slap that subscribe button.
I will tell you, we are definitely within your roadhouse if this is the type of shit that you want to listen to and watch. Do go check out our Sorcery Shenanigans installments over on our YouTube channel and also where you can find all podcasts. This has been Pubcast. I've been Wayne.
I've been Kim.
Up and Darren.
Yeah.
We're out of here. Roadhouse.
Peace.